Adam Deitch, and until November, I was a federal prosecutor.
My name is Barbara Wright, and I was Sandra Birchmore's cousin. The Norfolk County District Attorney's Office has not delivered justice. They've denied justice for Sandra Birchmore.
I think of the Sandra Birchmore case.
We're going to get to that next.
Literally every day. Any case where victims and their families don't have justice needs to be reevaluated.
My name is Melissa Berry, and I'm seeking justice for Sandra Birchmore.
What will it take to restore the public trust? I don't know, Adam Deitch. That would restore my public trust.
Tell your friends, tell everyone you know in Norfolk County about this race and why it's so important.
I made a promise to Sandra I was going to stick with this till the end.
And you can too. By scanning the QR code, my camera's mirrored, so I never know which side it's on, but it's down there somewhere. Oh, hey. Where are you?
I was chasing. I had 3 videos up. Sorry. I had 3 videos up. And so I was trying to find where you were. I kept hearing an echo. This thing needs to be kind of slanted a little bit.
He's
How you
ready for
doing?
graduation. Happy graduation day.
Hey, aren't you glad you finally get? Have you ever thought you'd graduate somebody just to get them out of your hair?
I need to make this very clear to everybody. First of all, Meatball just said something so funny earlier. Hold on. Meatball said, I'm adding this graduation to my resume. Yes, everybody needs to. But put me down for reference and everything. If Manshan can graduate allegedly up teen times, so can I. I need to make this very clear to everybody right off the bat. Graduation does not mean that Squirrel School is over. Here's how I'm envisioning it for us. Oh, that's so fun. I want you guys to imagine like preschool graduation. Like you finished one thing, but you still have a whole lot to go. So the only reason why we're having this graduation today is because we got to the end. We got to closing statements. We got to the end of the trial. But for everybody in the chat who knows, getting to the end of the trial is like really just the very, very beginning of everything that is this Karen Reed universe. Like once we get to closing statements, once we get to a verdict, that's just the beginning. It hasn't ended for any of us clearly, and so it doesn't end for Squirrel School either. It's just for funsies. Is there a keg? I do have, you guys, I have wine in my chalice today.
Oh, that's awesome. I have.
Now, preschool graduation like is wild. Like Quinn said, my kid had a hat for preschool graduation. It was paper, but she had it. My first year teaching, I taught pre-K, and I didn't know that people go like all out for preschool graduation. So we had a little graduation ceremony. It was the cutest thing in the world. My kids did a poem that I like wrote them a poem that they did. It was like the cutest thing. But all of their parents came like as if this was like college graduate. Their parents came with like bouquets of like huge balloons and roses, and like they like showered me with gifts. Like it was wild. And I was like, oh, I had no idea. Like I hadn't been in preschool in 100 years.
Were you in preschool?
I went to preschool like when I was a kid.
I don't know. I just figured you graduated. Like you skipped. How many years did you skip in school?
Okay, this is like a whole story for another day. When I was in kindergarten, they moved me up to first grade, and it was because I was a pain, though. It's not because I was like smart, but I was also a pain. So they thought if they moved me up to first grade, I would be like more challenged and like not be such a pain. And I was in first grade for 3 weeks, and then they switched me back to kindergarten. So I was like in Miss Nelson's class, then I was in Miss Clark's class, then I was back in Miss Nelson's class. Because I didn't want to be in first grade. It like really was better for everybody. But yeah, that was
for the first graders. It was better for the first graders that you were back in kindergarten.
Yeah, it was better for the first grade teacher. Actually, no. What really ended up working out really well was then when I went to first grade for real, I had like the best I had like the Miss Honey, like best teacher. Her name was Miss Madaus. I don't know if you're still out there, Miss Madaus, but I remember you. And when I became a teacher, Miss Madaus was like who I channeled in like everything that I wanted to be. And had I stayed in Miss Clark's class in my like fake adventure in first grade for 3 weeks, that never would have happened. So that happened. But here's what you guys need to know about what's happening today. We're just going to celebrate for a little bit how far we've come so far. And then we're going to keep going. We still have a lot to do. So after we have our little graduation ceremony, what we're going to move on to next for Squirrel School tonight is the jury, the jurors. And tonight, you're going to learn all about juror Ronnie. And I'm going to explain to you how juror Ronnie impacted so much of like how we all feel about the trial now. I'll get to that later. But juror Ronnie really, you'll see. I'm going to save this. And yes, Miss Nelson is missing with Miss Viola Swamp, one of the scariest books when I was a kid. Do you remember that book? Did you know Miss Nelson is missing? Miss Nelson like needs a break from her life, so she dresses up as Miss Viola Swamp. Her class is like a nightmare, so she comes in like dressed as this like crazy witch, but the kids don't know, and the principal clearly is too dumb to figure it out. And
we didn't have a lot of witchcraft books at school.
No, this is not witchcraft. Okay.
But we did. I did have a teacher though. Like she reminds me of that person you're talking about. Viola Swamp.
Expert is going to take a test. Hold please. Before Mitchell yells at me, we need to do this.
Oh gosh.
Hooray, it's time for Squirrel School, the best part of my day.
Okay, you do have a test. Are you ready? This is a pop quiz. It's a one-question test. But this decides if you move on from Karen Reed 101.
Yes, it's my answer. Yes, it's always my answer.
It better not be
where it takes us.
Okay, the question is, was John O'Keefe hit by a car?
Is that serious? You being
Yes,
serious about
this is your one pop quiz question to know if you're ready for graduation.
No, John O'Keefe was not hit by a car. Not hit by a car. Because you know why?
You tell me.
He went inside the house and was beaten in a physical altercation. That's one of the things that the defense brought up. The other thing they brought up is that he was attacked by the family German Shepherd, Chloe, who's gone missing. And that accounts for the arm wounds. The third thing that they came up with was after sustaining injuries indoors, his body was moved outside and left in the snow. Hey, Fervin, what's up? His injuries were inconsistent with a vehicle strike. They matched it, and they also matched an assault and a fall. That was the ARCA and all that stuff. I put all my notes out tonight. And then there's no collision with the Lexus because the tail light damage had this is what I love. I love this. This is my favorite thing of the whole thing. An alternative origin.
Oh.
The tail light pieces had an alternative origin. My notebook here. I have a whole notebook.
I'm so proud.
And a little light. Yeah, I like it. Sometimes I take things serious. And if you want me to expand on anything, I have notes about stuff too.
Keep going. We're loving this.
The evidence was this is like the last couple of weeks. Evidence was planted at the scene, or the scene was staged to implicate Reed. What was it? There's a part manipulated the scene by investigators or others to fabricate a vehicle strike narrative. That's the one I like. Vehicle strike narrative. I don't know where I had that, but I had that. Also, specific individuals at the party. This is where it came into the Alberts. You had Colin, you had Brian, and then also the dude who should be everybody's most huggable person, Piggy Bear. He's just looking for a weed whacker. Looking for a weed whacker. He's got some bushes that need whacked, you know? He's like, he doesn't like to get out there in that Massachusetts sun. It's so hot, you know. They all had motive and opportunity that night. The phone data. When did we learn about phone data? That was like the second or third week, wasn't it? The phone data indicates that O'Keefe entered and moved around the residence. Now, that was the thing I couldn't remember was I'm moving around the residence, and I think I asked a question, but I don't remember the answer. Was when does the and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But I was just like thinking to myself, like, when does the watch data turn off? And I know, because like mine, it tracks like when I sleep and tells me like when my body temperature goes down to. And I was like, I wonder if it does that. If there's a
John O'Keefe
I
didn't
don't
have
know.
an Apple Watch. He only had his phone, which it would have given us a lot more information had he had an Apple Watch.
I
That's
thought
why
he
you
had a
don't know that,
watch.
though. No.
Somebody told me he had a watch. You know what? I listen to foreign YouTube sometime. Denmark, they think they have a watch over there. Anyway, let's see here. The Google search history of a certain party guest. Phone suggested early knowledge that O'Keefe was outside and dying because the snow hose how to die.
That was perfect.
And a comprehensive investigation, coordinated false statements enabled a cover up inside the house. And this is where you have like Proctor and everybody else that were all part of a comprehensive, the coordinated false statements.
That was perfect. I'm so proud right now. Also, I hear you met my friend Cheech last night. Hi, Cheech.
Hey, Cheech. I met Cheech yesterday.
Love that. King Bob sent the sweetest message. He sent $5 and said, I gave too much today, but you worked hard to get expert to graduate, so you deserve something for that. Just wish it was more. Your kind words are more than enough.
Thank you, King Bob. Here for the king.
We're so proud of you. And I'm glad you just said that about some of the stuff that we learned about at the very beginning, because my initial thought tonight was to go back and watch some of the things that we had learned about at the very beginning of Squirrel School, because I feel like there were some things we covered at the beginning that like will make sense to you now. But then I was like, that seems too like weird for like us to watch us to learn from us. So I'm going to give you Squirrel School homework for this week to go back and watch certain parts of certain episodes so that you can get some of the like more nitty-gritty stuff that we went into at the very beginning that might not have made sense then but will make sense now. Meatball, I'm saving this for when we get into Ronnie because I can't. Ronnie. Okay. Because you just not only like passed your test, you just aced your test. You graduated with honors. I would like to present to you some of your Squirrel School graduation presents.
I'm ready.
To start, hold on, I gotta pull up.
Where does this go? Does this go to the other side now?
Ask the chat. That I didn't know. Which side do you start? Well, and our cameras are mirrored, so
man, I flipped it. I remember to flip it's all matters. I'll tell you what, I've seen where you
our.
can put like airplane bottles in these
I'm
things.
saving all these Ronnie. I'm starring all the Ronnie chats for when we get to him because like I can't. I watched like 2 minutes of it while I was preparing, and I can't. You're gonna learn about Ronnie tonight, and it's gonna just like break your brain.
And he was a juror.
Yes. He's the only juror from the first trial who, well, actually, that's not even true. We'll get to it. Oh, Strains said, y'all are going to make me cry happy tears. Well, just wait, Strains, because now I have some graduation presents for you. Your first graduation
Strains was one of the
present
first person
comes
no.
from our friend and classmate, Exhibit Alley. She has a YouTube channel now. I put her link in the chat. Everybody take a second right now. Clickety click, go over there and follow because are you ready?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not ready. Hold on.
No, I'm not ready either.
Wait. Yep. Hold on. I got to add you on this.
I was number 6.
Camera slot. Okay. Okay. Now I'm ready. Update layout. There we go. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Squirrel School. The expert learned so much. Best part of my week. He did his homework in a crunch.
I
Okay,
love
wait.
it.
I have to start it over now that we're not in the way.
Squirrel School. Squirrel School. The expert learned so much. Best part of my week. He did his homework in a crunch. Caring Proctor, Judge Bev, Trooper Paul's pirouettes, Turtle Boy, Hank's diary, and Lally's Marlboro cigarettes. Squirrel School, Squirrel School, the expert's graduating. Squirrel School, Squirrel School, the expert's graduating. He made us proud. Moving on to the next chapter. Oh, the places he'll go, but we're just getting started. Have no fear. Squirrel School ain't over, so we persevere. Graduation day.
Oh yeah, I love it.
School, shades on at his computer, he's looking good. Lesson by lesson, hey, the expert really is one smart dude.
Yay!
Is that not the cutest thing you've ever seen in the entire world?
That was awesome. That was awesome.
We're gonna watch it again after this because I need to play that like as many times. I need to like get as much out of that as I can. King Bob, save your money.
Oh
You already sent us with starts on right, moves to the left after you graduate. Thank you. That's actually
I
very
did it right
helpful.
then. That was done right. Whether or not you saw it on the mirror effect, but I also threw it.
Good.
I didn't go get it.
Everybody go follow Exhibit Alley. I'm gonna play that
you really gonna do
again.
it?
What?
Is she really gonna do her channel? I mean, like I was number
Yeah,
6.
she has all these cute little videos up already.
So one.
She also
What
made
did I
a
do?
version of Fervent's FU Hank that we're gonna play later. Don't let me forget.
Oh, it's on shorts.
Yes. Okay, next. I
Allie,
have
come
a
by tomorrow night
little
and get my attention.
I have some speaking of, hi Kelly. I have some of your
Kelly.
friends that have a message for you.
Congratulations, expert. What an amazing day for you. Karen Reed 101 is done. To think that 3 years ago, when I told you, oh, I'm covering this case in Massachusetts about a woman called Karen Reed, you said, what is Massachusetts? And I thought, does he know nothing? And only 3 years later, and with the divine intervention of Miss Emily, I now stand as the proud internet dad of the expert, herder of squirrels, and you know basic facts about horse long to die in the cold, Delbride only working sometimes, what happened in 227, Gan, and all of the other wonderful things that Emily has taught you. I'm so proud that you made it this far, because when I hooked you up with Emily in December and you said, I want to learn about this, I thought, you moron, I told you about this for 3 years. You just want to hang out with Emily. But it has become one of my favorite shows on the YouTube. Not because you're on it, but because Emily is the bomb. Congratulations. Proud that all it took was 3 years of me losing my mind, and then 6 months of Emily beating you relentlessly, week after week. Congratulations, buddy. On to next year.
Hey, expert, we are so proud of you. Congratulations on your graduation day. Who knew that this little cutie patootie would grow to become such a wise little squirrel?
Oh my
Well,
God.
you might have had a clue since you do like to dress in fur and sometimes bananas. But back to the point. You have done some really fun things on YouTube and met some really great people along the way. And today, not only do we want to acknowledge you, we also want to say a big thank you to Emily C. and her chat for getting you to this point. So again, congratulations for graduating Squirrel School 101. We can't wait to see what's next.
Congratulations, expert.
Buddy, I'm so proud of you. Graduating Squirrel School, look at you. Growing up, it only took like 3 years after the case was over. But that's okay. That is okay. Emily C., you are a saint, girl. I'm glad you got him here. Perhaps most importantly, though,
Oh my God.
we need to start turtle school, I think, at this point. So getting rolled, because we got a turtle to free. Good job, y'all.
I covered it for a long time, and you were like, what's a Chloe? Now you know what a Chloe is. You know she lives in Vermont and identifies as a Pomeranian. What's a mediocre chicken and palm? Something you can't get anymore because, hey, Chris Albert is going out of business. But this day is your day, because for the first time in history, you finished the class. And as you're the only one in this class, you finished top of your class.
Here.
Hey, expert, Emily, chat. I hear tonight is a big night for our guy. We are celebrating expert graduating from Squirrel School. Everybody is just so excited for you. Now, not everybody can survive Squirrel School. It does require perseverance, the ability to follow the lesson plans that somehow involve squirrels, axolotls, and Trooper Paul all in the same curriculum. Along the way, we did get those unforgettable moments. Just as an example, the unforgettable Trooper Paul Scooby-Doo Rut-Row moment.
Rut-Row.
That
Did you say
is
Rut-Row?
still making us all crack up to this day.
Rut-Row.
We also can't forget the axolotl song. That is
Oh, who
somehow
did play the
stuck in
axolotl?
everybody's head, and I guarantee you echoing through the halls of the chat as we speak right now. A lot of memories were made, and one of those things that we'll always remember is Miss Emily C's polka dot walls. Those walls have seen so much laughter, chaos, squirrel lessons, and probably
They weren't always
a
polka dot.
ton of inside jokes, enough to fill an entire squirrel textbook. Expert, you have shown up, you've shared laughs, you've made memories, and you've helped to make these streams a special, fun place for so many of us. You've earned your diploma, your squirrel
Serial
credentials, and probably axolotl status by now. So, tonight, we raise a nut, a paw, an axolotl fin, or whatever's appropriate for this moment and say, congratulations, expert. May your future be filled with endless adventure, plenty of laughs, and absolutely no Scooby-Doo moments, unless they're funny ones. I love you, guy. Congratulations.
Congratulations, brother. On to next year. Maybe now you will learn how long to die in the cold and how much snow was there, if any. Love you, brother.
Enough
Hi,
to track a
expert.
cat.
Hi, Emily. I was just stopping in to say congratulations to the expert for finishing Squirrel School. I also wanted to tell expert just a little bit of how much he means to me. He has been here through this hard year. When I found out that my son had to go back on chemo, he's only 12, and I was really stressed out about it, and I had some other things happen that behind the scenes, and expert truly made me feel seen. He made me feel heard. He made me understand what a true friend can be. I just wanted to tell you that I am thankful for you, to have you in my life, and breathe. That's the main thing. Just breathe. Love you guys.
Love you, brother. And I feel for you, Emily. I know it's been tough, but you were the woman to do this because no one else could make him understand anything. School's out from Karen. School's out right now. Can Google that.
Alice Baker.
227. Have fun, guys.
And wait, we have one more submission.
Hi, expert.
Uh-oh.
Congratulations from your graduation from Squirrel School. You made it. You had the best teacher, so you are now prepared to go out into the world and educate everyone else about the case. Anyways, I'm very proud of you. I have enjoyed watching you guys on Squirrel School together. And I can't wait to see what other things you learn. It's just the beginning, and I love you both.
What, Rose?
We're all very proud
Oh
of
my God,
you.
nuts.
Congratulations.
Where did all those pictures of me wearing sunglasses? That was awesome.
Those are all from the White Rabbit. I need to play
I have no idea.
Exhibit Alley's song one more time, and then I have one more gift for you, and then we're gonna move on to Juror Ronnie. Hold, please.
Squirrel School, Squirrel School. The expert learned so much. Best part of my week, he did his homework in a crunch. Caring Proctor, Judge Bev, Trooper Paul's pirouettes, Turtle Boy, Hank's diary, and Lally's Marlboro cigarettes. Squirrel School, Squirrel School. The expert's graduating. Squirrel School, Squirrel School. The expert's graduating. He made us proud. Moving on to the next chapter. Oh, the places he'll go. But we're just getting started. Have no fear. Squirrel School ain't over, so we persevere. Graduation day at Squirrel School. Shades on at his computer. He's looking good. Lesson by lesson. Hey, the expert really is one smart dude.
I love it
I had that
so
party
much.
hat right here. I have that party hat right here.
The last thing I have for you is that Ginny, original Ginny, made you your very own Squirrel School doll. And my favorite part is that, hold on, my favorite part is that it comes as an add-on to my pack. So at the top, it's like the Emily C logo. You're part of the Emily C pack. You're a limited edition graduation pack.
Awesome. Awesome. Look, it has
come with
pixie sticks and
pixie sticks and peeps and a disco banana.
I love it.
And an A+ on your final exam. Hold on. Hello?
Hello.
Ring.
How you doing? How you doing, teacher?
How cute is your doll?
It's so cool. I love that.
My favorite part is that your desk is like one of those ones from like the 1940s. If you were like the bad kid in the 1940s class, you would go sit in that desk.
I love those desks actually. Those are
Isn't that the
actually
best? And
you
your
know what? They're not
orange,
that mom. Yeah.
your
Oh
orange
yeah, it
cap
is.
and gown.
I had a orange tassel when I graduated from UT.
Isn't that
And that's
great?
something
So I'll
else.
send you that now that you know all of the secrets.
All
So
right,
those are your
thank you.
graduation presents.
Oh, that's so
Congratulations.
awesome. Oh, that's hilarious. No, that was crazy. That was me as a little kid. That's me.
You were so blonde.
Uh, yeah, yeah. I know.
What a
That's why
little cutie
everybody's like,
pie.
"Oh, yeah, you're blonde." I'm like, been there. Yeah, I was a
What a
toe-headed
little
blonde
tiny cutie
baby.
pie.
Yeah, with I didn't know I've ever worn aviators though. That's something new.
Your
I
graduation
remember that
day.
picture.
Wait. Sorry. Where did it go? I wanted
I
to put.
always have a picture taken with sunglasses.
There you are.
Yeah.
You're so cute. You have
Oh,
your
wait a
little.
second. Are
You see,
those might be kangaroo shoes. They have the little pocket inside. I'm trying to remember where is that? I don't think I've been. I don't remember that place. Oh wait, I was dressed
well,
up. That's not a normal place. That's like a restaurant or something, probably. But yeah, that's
I don't know
me.
if I've
That
been
is
there. It's a picture of you.
what's
Um.
crazy is how much as a baby I looked like my mom. I just realized that.
Oh, I love that.
That was crazy. Yeah.
This is my action figure. It has a FOIA and Find Out
He has
Philo
kung fu grip.
Facts and a Drama Free is the life for me. Yeah, I'm like a Hulk. Um, Proud to be
I
Carter's
like little
momkin.
squirrels.
FOIA and Find Out Calling All Squirrels, my feelings chart, and our little squirrels. Look how cute we are.
That is so cool.
They're the same shades. I feel like
The
they're like a
magic
part of your
shades.
face, like they grew with you.
What's funny is I don't wear aviators, and like my wife doesn't like me wearing them. I'm like, these are the Tony Stark edition, and she doesn't like. She does not like me wearing these out in public.
Why? I like
It's
those
funny.
because they don't have a glare with the like, I feel like that would be annoying. I mean, I know that the chat, like, people get annoyed about you wearing sunglasses anyways, but I feel like that, yeah, that would be
Yeah, so
annoying. Yeah,
see,
that I wouldn't be able to
I got
handle
the
that.
filter. You
Good.
gotta have a filter on your camera. That's why I like. I don't like ring lights. They have that circle.
Yeah.
You have
So
to work on all
you
these
figured
things.
it out where it's not annoying.
No, everything about me is annoying. Trust me.
Wait, I love that. If we had those
Yeah,
two
I
little
know. I was
dolls,
thinking
they
those
could
are.
fight like sock and boppers. Okay. And now back to the curriculum. Are you ready? Do you have anything else you want to say before we move on from your
Thank you.
graduation ceremony?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, chat and everything. I'll tell you. I know, like my history. It's weird though. This whole history thing is weird. And how we got here. And
Oh my God. I forgot to thank our Lord and founder, Jessica Walsh, who without her, this would be nothing.
facts.
Continue. I'm
Just getting
serious.
here. It's a I don't know, it's a crazy road, and every day I wake up and I think how blessed I am because of the wonderful people. Like you know how like I think you said a few weeks ago you're talking about like in high school you had friends, and then like you go to college. And you're talking about like some friends of yours, like you're really good friends with them, like you went to their college and visited them, but
Mhm.
like it's like you have like a small group and like it kind of expands, and then you get out and you don't have that you're in that world anymore. And it's we're not gonna be friends with everybody, but when you are in this world, you find more and more people that are like yourself and that you are friends with. And it's a very cool thing. And I think every day about how lucky I am. I really am. There are quite a few times when I've started to do things where I thought to myself, Emily would not be proud of that.
Oh, good.
There's a few things that It's funny.
Did it stop you, or
that's an
did you just think
evolution.
Emily's not going to be proud of this, and then you just powered through and did it anyway?
There are about 3 times I can think of, maybe. But I did stop. I was like, you know what? I'm just not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything. But no, and that's it was the thing that got me about you. I was like, this chick's cool. It was when I saw you said that whole drama free is the life for me. And I was like, yeah, that's the way it should be. That's I've always tried to stay out of drama. Not
How's that going?
fun facts. You tell me. 'Cause when you think you're out, they pull you back in. That's from Al Pacino,
Mm.
Godfather.
Oh, cool. That sounds like a cool movie.
Yeah. It was a good book, supposedly. Allegedly.
Thank you.
Yeah, she is very cool. Very classy. Actually, that's probably the best word. It's hard to classy is not something you say a lot on YouTube. And you're a very classy lady. And I appreciate that.
You clearly don't
Appreciate
watch
that.
enough Melanie Little, because she says, "Be cool, be kind, be classy." Put your graduation cap back on for V. V said you need a cap.
Fall on my chair. Oh. Why don't I just get up? Like, that'd be so much easier. But no, I had to lean over in my chair, and I'm surprised you guys didn't hear this big loud thud where I fell, followed by screaming and all that stuff.
We heard a little of the screaming. Yay!
There we go. Do I need the tassel? Do I take the tassel off? Put it in the back, like a ponytail.
Maybe the next part
I
of your
keep thinking
assignments are
this is
going
a
to be like,
band
you have to
teacher.
watch Melanie Little.
She watched me before I even knew who she was.
Oh
Trivia.
yeah. Yeah. That's like, it's big. You hit it big and you didn't even know it.
No, I
Okay.
knew it, but I just, just not J for me. It's not Emily C big. Y'all, when I met
here's the
Emily, I
plan.
didn't know she had a whole big thing going on and stuff, and I thought it's just like some chick that's trying to learn how to YouTube. I was like, great, Broken Baker. It's another one of his problems. Never in a million years. Like, I won't. I don't like people to talk to her. I'm like, no, you guys, you don't talk to her. Don't go over there. Don't talk to her. Don't ruin her. That's a safe place over there. I'm a little protective.
I appreciate that. Okay, here's the plan. As I was saying, or when the words were coming out of my mouth earlier that Ronnie was the only juror from trial 1 that came out and spoke out about anything, I realized that's not true, because I had Victoria George on and we talked about the trial, but it was a different time. So I do want to at some point pull that up tonight too. But moving on now to the content of Squirrel School for the night, we are going to learn about Juror Ronnie. And I need to set the scene for you. So we actually don't have the date. Hold on. Let me pull up when Aiden did this interview. So this is post-trial 1. The verdict is in, hold on just a second. Okay. This was February 15th of 2025. Here is, I need to set the scene for you. July 1st of the previous year, the first Karen Reed trial ends in a hung jury. And for everybody who was following the trial, like even people that weren't like free Karen Reed or like invested in this in like a way of like caring one way or the other, people were surprised. Like, having gone through the entire first trial, it really felt like the jury should walk into the room, say, okay, Karen's not guilty, turn around and walk out. And that didn't happen, clearly. The jurors deliberated for 2.5 days, I think it was, came back and said to Judge Cannoni, like, we're at an impasse, like, we're not going to be able to come to a verdict. They read them the Tui Rodriguez, whatever, like, I don't even know what that's called. Tui Rodriguez. You went to law school. What's that? What is that? Like, it's basically to tell them, like, hey, like, I know that you guys feel like you can't come to a verdict, but like, do it anyways, like, come to a verdict or else. So they go back to, like, what is that called? Tui Rodriguez charge.
Yeah,
Is
you
that
gotta
right?
go back.
Instruction,
Do what?
charge.
No, you have jury instructions
Basically,
and then
Jessica gets it. It's like, go make a decision. Like, you're not allowed to say, like, I don't know, I don't care.
yeah.
Like, go back and figure it out. So the jurors go back for like another day, and then they came back and they were like, Allen charge. See, I just learned something new. I didn't even know that's what it was. So
One
is
time I've
that
been in court, I was held in contempt. I don't go there.
So they go back, they like deliberate for another day or whatever, and then they come back and they're like, we really can't make a decision. And Beverly Cannoni says, like, okay, like, hung jury, see you guys later. And what she doesn't ask them for, she doesn't poll them on like where they stand. She doesn't ask them if they've come to a decision on any of the, so there's 3 counts that they're deciding on, like first degree murder, manslaughter, leaving the scene of an accident, whatever. There's the 3 charges. She doesn't poll them on if she doesn't ask them, like, did you come to a decision on anything? And it turns out through like hearing from jurors later that they actually had decided on first degree murder and like the second degree murder. I should have looked all of this up. It's been a long couple days, summer vacation. But basically they had decided on 2 of the 3 charges, and they only were hung on 1 of the charges. But because it was never read out into open court, because it was never made on the record, that didn't count. And Karen's team even tried to go to like the SJC or like a higher court to like have it count the decision that they did come to, and that didn't end up happening, obviously, because they deliberated on the same charges in the second trial. So everybody was kind of left with like,
so it was like an all or nothing.
Right. And really what they should have done is like, they should have been able to fill out the jury slip, I guess, and like mark the decision. So like mark that they had decided on like not guilty on first degree murder, and they had decided on not, but they didn't. Bev never asked them to do that. It all happened like so fast. And I feel like everybody like remembers where I was on vacation. I was like, had an earbud in Maine. And like, I'm like, oh my God, they have a verdict. Like, oh my God. And it just like happened so fast. It was like, they came back and like the jury was hung and like, that was that. And like, we didn't get any answers. And it wasn't like other trials where like jurors on, there are some trials where like jurors come out like that night and talk to the news or like answer questions or whatever. Like none of that happened. Literally, this is what happened. Bev said, see ya. And then that was it. And like the feed went down, and like it was like the craziest thing. And then that same day, like people hadn't even left the courthouse yet. They hadn't even like gotten any news supposedly from the jury at all. And Michael Morrissey's DA's office already said, like, we're going to try this case again. Like, this is not the end. So Karen knew basically like 2 hours after the hung jury that she was facing this all over again. And then we just had this like July, August, September, October, November, December, all this time that like we didn't have any answers, and we could like look back at trial footage and like speculate about what happened, but like we really didn't have any idea. And like people were kind of critical about like Alan Jackson's closing arguments. Like, did it feel too much, like too big for what was, sorry, just got distracted. I love this. Romy's canvassing for Adam Deitch on Wednesday. Love that so much. This is why you need a DA that you can trust. Everybody vote for Adam Deitch on September 1st. But
by the way, I saw where he got the Boston paper endorsement. Congratulations on that. But now twice as hard. The race is twice as hard now because everybody's gonna be mad. And there's two things in my mind. One is you get half the friends and all the enemies, right? And then two, people that are against him are going to work twice as hard now. So that means that people that
Yeah.
are for him have to work 3 times as hard. It's just gotten that much harder. Just use that. Remember that's like a marathon runner. That's that person's got the Gatorade or the water, whatever it is on the race, and you grab it. Yeah, grab that. And you got to make sure it goes in your mouth because you got to stay hydrated and run. So,
I love that analogy.
congratulations, but also remember, it's not easy. It doesn't get easier now.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it's a net positive because there are a lot of people, like my parents and my in-laws both still get like the Boston Globe delivered to their house. Like anytime I go to my in-laws, my mother-in-law will be like, I cut out this article for you. I get like articles from her all the time. And I think there are a lot of people who haven't followed anything about the DA's office, anything about this election. And then they see that article and they're like, okay, I trust this team. Like I'm voting for Adam Deitch. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. I feel like anytime people say they're behind, I feel like I should wait until they catch up. K-Shred's Magnifying Glass, the best name on the internet these days, sent $50, which is so generous and unnecessary, and said, I'm way behind, but had to share. When my girl was in pre-K, she went to 2nd grade for reading and 1st grade for math. She's graduating from high school a few credits shy of her associates and will go to CU Boulder for environmental science and stats. #ProudMom. I feel proud for you. That's amazing. Graduating from high school a few credits shy of her associates is wild. That's amazing. Congratulations. And also congratulations on having like literally the best name on the internet these days.
I didn't have a high school graduation.
Why not? But now you have a Squirrel School graduation. Most people don't get that.
I skipped my senior year.
Back to this. So this is where we're at, is that like everybody's just left to kind of speculate. And I'm trying to think for anybody who doesn't know, I didn't know that like YouTube existed during the first Karen Read trial at all. I was like on TikTok, like screaming into the void. I didn't know because it wasn't until like March or April that I like found YouTube. So I don't even know what I was doing. I was still just like rewatching the trial like by myself.
You're doing a lot of podcast.
Yeah, I listened to like everything that was a podcast about this. So like I found Turtle Boy not from YouTube, but Turtle Boy put out all of his like YouTube streams as podcasts on Spotify, and I would listen to that. Also, I need you to like understand, like for anybody who watches Turtle Boy, picture like there's no video that goes with it on Spotify. I'm not looking at anything, and I don't know what any of anything is. So half the time he was talking about like nicknames for people and things, and I was like, I have no idea what any of this is. But I would be like clicking like forward until he got to stuff about the trial. And I was like, okay. And I was just trying to consume like anything that I could about the trial. I'm sure that people were having way more fun like rewatching like anything, like even like, I don't know, anything that was like online about this. But then what ended up happening was Aiden interviewed, I must have found, because I watched the Ronnie episode. So I must have by this point known that Turtle Boy was on YouTube. I think that was like this might have been the first episode I ever watched on YouTube. But he had on Ronnie the juror. And that's what we're going to watch tonight. And this was going to be our like first insight into like what happened in the jury room. And I don't know for anybody else, like I don't know what we were like expecting because the jury was hung. I think so. It's like I wasn't expecting him to come on and be like, we all thought she was not guilty, but like we voted guilty, you know. But some of the things that you're going to hear this man say were so like, I don't know if infuriating is the right word, perplexing. Like it just made me personally, and I think a lot of people kind of like lose faith in the jury and set this like new kind of blanket of like fear going into the second trial, because it was like any time that you think like, oh, well, this is like so obvious. Ginny, we looked at your doll. Anytime that people were having this feeling like, oh, like this is like, okay, here's the smoking gun. Here's the thing that's like going to convince people. Here's this, here's that. We would think back to Ronnie's interview and be like, oh my God. But like Ronnie didn't think any of this mattered. And so it set this like just fear.
Your
And
peers.
for the entire second trial, like anytime it was like, today was a good day, it'd be like, but Ronnie, like everything just kind of felt like, oh my God, but like, what would Ronnie have thought? And like, luckily, the second jury did not have any Ronnies on it. Or if they did, there was only one Ronnie and not 12 Ronnies. But to fully understand like what it felt like to follow this trial in real time, we're going to watch Ronnie's February 2025 interview with Aiden about his experience as a juror in trial 1. And if at any point you have anything you want to say, let me know and I'll pause it. Besides that, we're just going to watch. Are you ready? Everybody take a deep breath and maybe like any prescription medication that you take for your blood pressure, because good Lord. Here we go.
And I'm just excited to have them on. I'm going to bring them on right now.
I love that screen.
Hey, Ronnie, how you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate this.
No worries.
Yes. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Also, before we get into it, this just reminded me. Quinn said there were Ronnies, but there was also Charlie. We're going next week. I love when I already know what we're going to do in the next Squirrel School. Next week, we're going to watch the juror interviews from the retrial, and you're going to get to learn finally about Charlie DeLoach, who's amazing. So you have that to look forward to after Ronnie. And I'm sure I also want to say, I am only saying this in the context of Ronnie as a juror. I'm sure he's a lovely person. He seems like just a real, like, sweet guy, kind of people pleaser, just wants to make everybody happy. I'm sure that he is well liked in his personal life. He seems like a lovely human. I just did not appreciate him as a juror. And that is the narrowly tailored criticism that I'm making of him.
Yeah, you were stuck behind a plow, I heard, on your way in there. Wasn't Lucky Locker Room,
Yeah,
was
of course.
It wasn't Lucky Locker Room, was it?
Yeah. I mean, the snow, right? We're trying to beat the system, right?
Well, let me start off with that, right? There's actually an interesting video that I just saw come out that somebody took driving by 34 Fairview Road. And I want to, have you visited 34 Fairview Road, obviously, on like the first week of the trial, right?
That's correct.
What were your thoughts when you saw 34 Fairview Road and the car parked outside, you know, in the lawn? What did you think of the whole scene there?
It was surreal. I think it was very interesting to be able to see the atmosphere. It would have been nicer to see it in a little bit more with some snow, just to see what would that look like. But we were trying to observe the area and the environment at the time.
Well, funny you should mention that. So this is people love to do this. This is what somebody just drove by like an hour or two ago, 34 Fairview Road. And this is the perspective that 7 or 8 of the witnesses would have seen. And then John's body, of course, was later found right about here. Okay. And let me just ask you something right now, right? So they want us, the prosecution contends and the prosecution witnesses contend. I believe it was Matthew McCabe, Jennifer McCabe, Julie Nagel, Sarah Levinson, Brian Higgins, and 2 other, Caitlin Albert and Tristan Morris. They all drove directly by this spot while it was snowing at like between 1 and 2 in the morning. Every single one of them says that they didn't see a body on the front lawn right there. If you had seen this visual during the trial, would that have made it harder to believe that they couldn't, if a body was there, that they wouldn't have seen it?
Yeah, I mean, it was very interesting because there were no pictures of what the body looked like at the time, right? So nobody took pictures of before they moved the body or moved the patient. We don't know what it really looked like, but looking at that, it's kind of hard to believe you can't see anything. But again, it's hard to say that you couldn't see it, and it's also hard to say that you could. I mean, it's all speculation in that respect, but it'd be hard somebody who's that large to not be able to see something there.
Right. So
once again, just as a reminder that not everybody thinks like this, Nandy reminds us that Charlie Deloach, the foreman of the retrial, did not just say that Karen was not guilty. He said that Karen is innocent. So just a reminder that not everybody is like Ronnie, because what Ronnie just told us is that in that video of somebody driving by 34 Fairview, where Fokker Eyes points out, how could you possibly see a 6-foot man in 2 inches of snow? Ronnie says, well, that's all speculation because maybe 8 people just didn't. That would be speculating.
Well, that's when he was saying all that. Like, I was wondering, like, is that the amount of snow? I mean, what Turtle Boy said, someone had just driven by there and taken that video, right?
I think that was even more snow than there was on the evening of January 29th, 2022. Granted, it was snowing, but
I think it'd be easier to see a body with more snow because he was wearing dark clothes, but there wasn't enough snow to cover up a broken tail light.
I mean, there was like a coating, and then he wouldn't have been covered at all at that point. So there would just be a coating of white, your headlights, and then a man, your friend, laying there. So V asks a good question. So Ronnie says, he'll get into this a little bit. He says that he was a not guilty voter, then he changed to guilty for a little and then changed back to not guilty. At that point, it really didn't matter because he wasn't the only holdout. But this is what I mean by, I think Ronnie is just a people pleaser. I think there's part of this where I feel like he knows he's on a show of somebody who is supporting Karen Read. So he's going to try to say some things that are like in support of Karen, but he does give us some insight into like what was happening in the jury room.
I want to know if, because I can't tell from his accent, if he grew up in America. And I say that because of how our legal system is unique to our upbringing. And I can't explain that really, except for when you look at the First Amendment. Americans take First Amendment so different than anybody else in the world. Like for us, it's like between a conversation between two people, we say our First Amendment rights. And I wonder if that has anything to do with Ronnie being kind of going back and forth on his thoughts or whatnot there. It's just it's a cultural thing. It's something that I admire other cultures, and I am really amazed by their legal systems, and that's what I'm getting to. Is like I just wish I knew that to plug in my little weird squirrel brain.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming we don't know one way or the other. I think it's more of a personality of like being a people pleaser, but we'll see.
Oh yeah.
When we talked before, you said that you were one of 2 jurors who wanted to ask the Judge Cannoni, about whether or not you were. First of all, do you confirm that it was a 12-0 vote for acquittal on murder and leaving the scene of an accident?
That is correct. So that was what the entire group agreed upon. That being said, it was confusing because we didn't have very clear direction on if it was all or nothing. In other words, if all 3 convictions had to be 100%. So that's why the response that it was that we were continued to need to deliberate because it was not clear on that one charge. So the one charge that we were not very clear on and not everybody was in agreement with was essentially the manslaughter charge, involuntary manslaughter. So that was the one that we were not clear on. But the other two charges, which was essentially second-degree murder as well as leaving a scene of an accident, was very clear. We all 12 agreed that was not the case. Right. So
right. And when did you guys start voting? So the first day you guys went and deliberated, it was closing arguments, right? And then you had like half a day there to deliberate. And then you came back. I don't know what day of the week it was, but you came back the next day. You had a full day of deliberations. When is the first time you guys took like a tally? And like when you said, okay, did you guys start with that? And did you say like, let's see where we stand right now? Or how'd that work?
I think we
wait a second.
wanted to read.
Did he say that they were all against second-degree murder and leaving the scene?
I tuned out for a second because I was downloading the Victoria George video. So I actually can't.
That's me. You can't you can't be like me and tune out.
No, I wanted to download my interview with Victoria George because I remembered that I did have an interview with another juror.
God, tell us. Is that what he said? That they were all against second-degree murder and leaving the scene? Okay. But involuntary manslaughter was the one that they were stuck on. Did the first trial bring up anything about her being drunk? Did they prove that she was drunk for that trial?
Okay. Yes, they did they brought up they did this like retroactive blood draw where they drew her blood for her section 12 and then they ended up using that to get her blood alcohol level at that time. But then they did this like retroactive analysis where they were like, okay, well, her blood at this moment is like 0.08. So that means it was like 0.29 when she was driving. However,
or she could have gone home and got wasted.
Well, yes. And the other thing that they did to like prove that she was drunk was they sat there and like counted her drinks at each one of the bars. So they were like, there she is ordering her first. Oh, there she ordered a shot. She poured it into her drink. That's number 5 and 6. That's 7 and 8. Yeah. Cusco Wright said it in a much more concise way. Yuri counted the drinks and then they did some sketchy blood draw that wasn't proper for DUI. And it's the same thing that came in the retrial.
But she also has a closet, correct?
Yes. Well, I don't know.
Does alcohol make it to the liver? And doesn't it have to be processed in the liver before you're intoxicated?
All of it was like very speculative. It's like nobody gave her breathalyzer at the scene in the morning, like that. They weren't looking at her as a suspect at that time. The other thing is that they didn't have in the first trial what she ended up being found guilty of in the retrial, which was OUI. They added that at the right before they went to go deliberate, basically before they gave the jury instruction, they added on OUI. And it was like a strategic move by Karen's team, basically, partially, I'm sure, based on hearing Ronnie talk about this experience. They were like, okay, if the jury wants to find her guilty of something,
juries always want to.
Right. Just because she's here and we're sitting across from the family and they look upset and like the prosecution has convinced me like she's not a good person. Even if I don't think that she did this, I want to find her guilty of something. So they gave them like a gimme and they took it. But that it wasn't like if she had just been on trial for OUI and that had been it and the only data was what they put forth during the trial, nobody would be convicted of just an OUI based on that, if that makes sense.
Essentially, the first day, we kind of took it all in. And after that, then we started to do a vote. We clearly didn't have a timeline, or I can't recall exactly the exact timeline on when we first decided on some of those essentially convictions. However, it was very clear that each time we made a vote, we wanted to make sure that we read the charges. So
Okay.
very clearly read the charges and understand the charges each time.
So to believe that Karen Reed was not guilty of murder, that means that none of you, even if they thought that she did it for some reason, not a single person on that jury thought that she did it on purpose, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so the whole motivation with about the Aruba trip with the Sullivan girls, and she's all angry. So that didn't really play well with you guys. That wasn't convincing.
It wasn't convincing. No.
Okay.
And there wasn't enough evidence for one way versus the other, but clearly not enough evidence, or there was doubtful evidence. So
okay. So you guys were hung on that second charge, and I believe the count, correct me if I'm wrong, was 6-6, right, for a bit, and you were one of the 6 for not guilty on manslaughter initially, correct?
Correct.
And then came the Tui Rodriguez charge, and that's kind of like a come on guys, you gotta give it your best shot, get back in there. And then that's when things, what was the atmosphere like in there? Was there bully sessions going on? Was there people trying to urge people that, come on, we got to do this for the O'Keefe family, they deserve some sort of justice, we got to do something? What was it like in there?
It was deliberation. So clearly, one of the things that were happening is we were trying to examine all the evidence and looking into holes for the case, whether on one side versus the other. And ultimately, that's what led to some people swaying in one direction, and then some people remaining and standing their ground. Some people essentially remained and stood their ground the entire time. And I think that was, I think it's important to see that in terms of the justice system and having this 12-panel jury. I think it would have been one way or the other if it was left to a very small group or only a few individuals. But given the circumstances that it was left to 12 individuals that have to ultimately come up with the same decision, I think is a very good system as it is.
So a couple people changed their mind though. So there must have been some leaders in that room. Have you ever seen the movie 12 Angry Men?
Yes.
It's a classic. So obviously in the movie, Henry Fonda
have you
is very
seen it?
convincing. He has a strong personality and he's able to.
That's actually on my list of like ones I really actually want to see. And I feel like I should, but
You have a list of movies you actually want to see?
yeah, the list is so long and they never get shorter. It only gets longer.
I wish we could have maybe Ninth on here.
Maybe we can do it like a members only. Can you show movies on members only?
No, I used to be able to do watch parties on Amazon. That was cool. You had like 20 people in there in a chat.
Oh, cute. Curiously Concerned cracks me up how much you love Ted Lasso. You know, I don't watch any shows, so I've never watched Ted Lasso, but I feel like every show you have a comment about Ted Lasso, and I love it.
Oh, Ted Lasso is I go to the dentist and I put Ted Lasso in on my earbuds. Like I
can show
just
movies
watched
and
season
members
4,
only.
episode 1, day before tonight.
Coyote Ugly is one of those movies that I think I've seen, but I don't know for sure. So
I've not
maybe
seen Coyote Ugly, and I mean, that's
like I
the
feel
movie
like I have because I
lived
can
it.
picture scenes, but I think that I've just seen like clips. Anyways, yeah. So Ronnie's
Girls
basically
dancing bar.
now. What Ronnie's doing now is tiptoeing around the fact that he was one of the people that switched from guilty to not guilty to guilty to not guilty to guilty to not guilty. And he's trying not to come out and just say that. But that's clearly what happened, is that it was 6-6. They got the Tui Rodriguez charge. They came back. He's like, well, people were deliberating. And then he's tiptoeing around this idea that he was one of the people that was swayed back and forth, and like unclear where he's, again, it really, he was not the holdout. So it doesn't matter. He's not like the one in the end that like, it sounds like, we're going to get to it, but it sounds like the foreman who Strains brought up was very persuasive and aggressive. And but what he is not just coming out and saying here is that he was one of the people who for a while said like, okay, yeah, I'll vote guilty.
Sway 11 angry
Tui
men
Rodriguez
to come
is
to his
unique to
side.
Massachusetts.
So surely, like, the vote was 6-6, and then it went 9-3 for guilty. So I'm guessing there must have been some dominant personalities in that room. And who would you say that? Would you say the foreman was one of those, and an engineer? Is that correct?
I think a lot of people were strong in that room, in that they were opinionated, and based on their opinions and their level of expertise and what we were given in terms of evidence, that's how we ultimately arrived at that conclusion, or each individual arrived at that.
Okay, I was going to say, you guys didn't come to a conclusion because you hung.
Correct.
And so it was 9-3, and you kind of wavered a little bit, right? Like they convinced you one way, and then like what you told me last time was it was 9-3, and you were kind of on the fence, and then you kind of came back, and there was 8-4. Is that an accurate depiction of what happened? Would you say it ended in 8-4 for guilty to not guilty?
That's correct.
Okay. And you, correct me if I'm wrong, you told me that you and one other juror wanted to ask the judge, Judge Canoni, whether or not you were allowed to acquit on two of the charges and hang on the third, and that the foreman said, no, we're not going to do that. We have to decide on, it's all or nothing.
So it was not a question of whether we can acquit. It was a question on, can we make decisions on each individual conviction independently of each other
individual charge,
versus, so that was the question. It wasn't necessarily.
Right. So acquittal, conviction. Yeah. So but you wanted to ask the judge, are we allowed to come to a decision on two of the charges and hang on the third? And the foreman said, that's not going to happen. No.
And it wasn't necessarily just the foreman, but there was a bunch of other opinionated individuals also kind of saying that, no, I think we have to look at it as a whole as opposed to independent. But clearly the person who was in charge at the time was the foreman. So his word or their word was more pronounced.
So those notes that he would write, were those group efforts, those notes, or like, I mean, they were well written. Obviously, a lot of people have talked about those notes, and the SJC in particular looked at those notes, and he used the word charges plural, and that was a big the SJC cited that a bunch of times. He said that we are deeply divided on the charges, he said. And did you guys come up with that note together, or did he write that himself, or did ChatGPT write it? How did that get written?
It was written by the foreman with in collaboration with all the other jurors. So we all looked at it. We all kind of accepted it as such. Again, it was one of the questions that we wanted to ask the judge was for clarification on can we look at these charges individually? But ultimately, that kind of question was put down, and essentially we had no choice but to just, again, based on the group, right, or majority rule, to say that we were just going to ask one question, or it's an all or nothing scenario, as opposed to can be treated individually from each other or independently from each other.
A lot of people would say that if they were in that situation and they were not being allowed to talk.
Okay, wait, this comment is really funny. Emily Love Your Life said, I've never seen Aiden with such self-restraint. It should be pointed out, in case you haven't noticed, that Aiden is wearing a shirt with Julie Albert's picture on it from when she was on the stand and called Yuri Buchanan Trooper Bukaki. And that's what his shirt says. So yes, I agree. I've never seen him with such self-restraint except for his wardrobe choice.
What I love is that it, like,
too
the
bad
print and everything, it looks like
Oh,
it's like a
no, I just-
1970s shirt.
I
Like a
know.
retro look to
Wait,
it.
Also, I just messed it up and like went all the way back. Damn it. Well, we're just going to start in the middle of something.
Hoping you would be offended particularly by.
Okay, wait. Oh, wait.
Question of jurors. We don't know how the law works, and it's kind of sad that, or unfortunate that we don't have that kind of view from an individual. So if we're in law, we would know how it's supposed to work, but from somebody who's new to becoming a juror or being a juror, we wouldn't know how the system really works. So it was very unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah. So just random question. I have so many questions, obviously, but one question is, you're obviously of Asian descent, and during the trial, there was one point where they were reading Matt McCabe's text messages out loud, and David Yannetti was cross-examining him, and he was reading them. And Matthew McCabe said something about like the Asian house, and I thought that was, I knew there was two Asian members of the jury, and I'm like, I wonder if they did that on purpose. Did that come across to you as at all offensive or anything like that? Him calling it the Asian house next door?
I think borderline kind of. I think it's borderline kind of offensive, but I don't think of it as offensive because I was born and raised here. So I think I looked at it as just somehow a descriptor, but I can see how some people would be offended by that kind of terminology.
Well, I think the defense was hoping you would be offended particularly by that. I think that's why they had him read it, is because he called it the Asian house. And I wasn't in the courtroom for that one because I wasn't allowed to be in there when Matt McCabe testified. But so I didn't get to see the reactions of the two Asian members of the jury.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if it landed or not. But you were there on obviously the closing day of closing arguments, and Brian Albert, Colin Albert, and Jennifer McCabe walked into court and sat with the O'Keefe family, and just the way they were positioned, they were staring directly at you. How did you feel about that?
It was a little intimidating. When I say intimidating, it was just at the end. I think it was, we're all at that point where we want this to have some closure. And I think it was slightly intimidating to see everybody there and all the players there, to some respect. I wouldn't say so much that I was fearful, but intimidated by everybody staring at me, right? So, or looking at me, and I say me, but it really is the group, right? The jury.
Yeah, all 15 of you that were up there and sat through 3 months of this, and you didn't get paid. I mean, they didn't really pay you for this, like $50 a day or something you got.
Yeah, some small amount. Yes.
So you gave up all this time, and God bless you, because it was hot sometimes in that courtroom, and it was a lot of the testimony was incredibly boring. I live for this shit, and even I was bored by some of it. And I looked, and sometimes jurors were falling asleep because Adam Lally can just put you to sleep sometimes. How do you feel about the fact that you gave 3 months of your life to this, and ultimately the result was nothing?
I feel that we kind of failed the system in that we were charged with this responsibility, and we came up with certain decisions, but at the end, it was not kind of looked at or taken into consideration in terms of some of the charges. And I think that was a failure of the system, and it is a disappointment. But that being said, I think it was a very good learning experience to be able to see the justice system I wish that it had worked out for everybody and there was closure all across the board. But right now, there's no closure for the O'Keefe family and for the Reeds, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing there.
So you are an
I hate when people say
EMT,
that.
which is such a unique job, particularly for this case. And at the scene, the EMTs were the kind of the first people to testify, and I think they interviewed like 8 or 9 of them, and 2 of them, no, I apologize, 3 of them testified that they heard Karen Reed say, "I did it, I did it, I did it." If you came across a car
Hit him, I hit
accident
him,
or
I hit
something like that with a dead body on the road, and there was a woman screaming, "I did it, I did it, I did it," would you tell the police what she said, like then and there, and this woman's confessing to a crime?
I honestly would focus on taking care of the patient and not necessarily focusing on that individual. That being said, if that individual was my patient, then obviously I would need to disclose that information to law enforcement. But at that time, if my patient was Mr. O'Keefe, then I would focus on Mr. O'Keefe and his resuscitation first and foremost.
To be focusing on John O'Keefe's resuscitation. Yeah. So when they got there, the ambulance got there. They were there for about a couple minutes trying to resuscitate him, and then they immediately put him on a gurney, put him into the ambulance, and got him out of there. And you must have come across fatalities many times, I'm guessing. I mean, God bless you. I don't know how you guys do it, but I'm assuming you've seen too many dead bodies. When that happens, you've come across car accidents, I'm assuming, many times too?
Yes.
Okay. So what is the protocol? Like, what would the protocol in a situation like this be? Do you think that the police and the first responders handled this in a way that you would expect it to be handled? Like, not as far as not putting crime scene tape up or anything like that?
I don't think it was as coordinated as it should be. And I don't know if that's a fault of necessarily each individual or a problem with the system, in that maybe they didn't have the proper training, or they should have asked more resources to actually make sure that it was done well. But I have to admit, it does not seem like it was done well in any way, shape, or form.
So, are you qualified to look at, like, a person's body after they're deceased and determine cause of death? Is that something you're familiar with as an EMT, or is that not something you're trained to do?
That's not my forte. I'm not necessarily, all I know is based on what is provided to me in terms of evidence, but I'm not in any way, shape, or form a educated person on pathology.
Well, luckily, there were 2 experts provided by the federal government from a company called ARCA that testified, 2 doctors, and they were the last 2 witnesses to go. And in order to, they both testified that, according to the physics, the science and the physics, the injuries to John O'Keefe are not consistent with being hit by a car, and the damage to the vehicle is not consistent with hitting a pedestrian. And those guys are, doctors, PhDs, they do this for a living, etc. And in order to find Karen Reed guilty of manslaughter, you have to listen to the ARCA experts and say, I don't believe them. So how did 8 jurors reach the conclusion that those guys didn't know what they were talking about?
It was as a direct result of Karen was there at that time, and John was there at the time, and it was believed that John died there, therefore, right, at that location, and therefore it seemed like, and everybody, all the witnesses were suggesting that he was never inside the house, and as a direct result, the assumption, or if you connected the dots based on the evidence that was provided to us, it seemed like there was some sort of collision with the car, and therefore there was damages to the vehicle. And with the damages to the vehicle and that both individuals were there and present, that the cause must have been, or somehow, some sort of involvement by Miss Reed.
So just to be clear about what Ronnie just said, his reason for thinking that Karen was guilty is that Karen was there and John was there and John died. John was there, Karen was there, so there was damage to her vehicle. So it must have been that Karen hit him. From an EMT who has seen car accident cases before. The only reason why this is not so infuriating now is because we know how it turns out eventually. But like, that is absurd. You know who else was there? Everybody in the house.
Oh, yeah. This is an EMT. This person comes to your house when you need 911.
Like literally like this is like who I have to count on. This is a Norfolk County juror. This is somebody.
Have you ever
Actually,
taken
I
a
think we
first aid
found out-
class?
Yeah, actually, when I was like a lifeguard in high school.
I haven't. My wife asked me yesterday. She's like, "How was the, I don't know, something about like not knowing CPR?" I was like, "I have no idea about CPR." And she's like, "You have no clue what's." I said, "No, I've never been around it. I've never taken a class on it. I know nothing. Like if somebody said I had to administer CPR, I would say no. I will do more damage than good."
Well, no, they talk you through it on the phone.
She
But
does,
regardless, like it. I mean, I feel like now I can watch this not as like more as a bird's eye view of like there is some kind of like sociology lesson in this, because something happened in that jury room where this man who is an EMT who can look at wounds, like if you had asked him, I feel like outside of this trial, if this man had just seen John's photos of John's body, there's no way he would have said this person got hit by a car, because John didn't get hit by a car. But something happened to like his brain in that jury room where like cognitive dissonance is a real thing, where it's like once you have your mind convinced one way, like you talk yourself into a certain number of things that just make no sense, and you can hear it when it's coming out of his mouth. He's like, well, we thought like Karen was there, John, like if he was sure in his convictions about what he was saying, I feel like he would have said it in a more assertive way, like the way that like we hear like the forensic room talk about it. And so they did like something happened to him in that deliberation room where it's like every amount of like common sense just went fully out the window. Well, and he was intimidated. Let's not forget that.
So that was how they all arrived at.
But how did?
Sorry. What were you gonna say?
there's just a lot of what you said. There's so many things, and it's a scary reflection upon society. It's, I have nothing to say about Ronnie besides it's something that we all need to be conscious of. Like I just remember I had a professor, and I don't know, we're all goofing off, right? This is when I was in college, and he was like, "Damn it," he cussed and got all our attention. Tom, what's going on?
Hey, Tom Gillis.
Yes, it is. It is the best, Tom. But anyway, the professor was like, I want y'all to be able to leave here and be able to go to a cocktail party and not sound like idiots. And that really struck me. And he said, you should be able to have a well-rounded conversation about any topic that's brought up, and not sit there and just look like you're an uneducated idiot. I was like, yes, sir.
And I feel like the whole concept of like jury deliberation does kind of like walk this line where you do want jurors to be open to listening to their fellow juror. Like the whole purpose of being in that like deliberation room is not, you're supposed to deliberate. You're not supposed to be so set in your ways that you are unwilling to waver. And so it does, it is kind of like this complex, like science experiment about people, to be like, who's going to like bend? What is it going to take for somebody to bend? What is the right decision? How do we get to the right decision? It just feels like when there is a certain point, this is it. It's like there is a certain point where if you are on the correct side of interpreting the evidence that you just spent weeks listening to, you should be able to say like, no, this is, I am right, because instead of like, okay, can we pause for 1 second about Karen Reed stuff? Because Lori Ballou just said something about Lindsay Clancy that I've been thinking about for so long, and I have not had the chance to like get this out. We're gonna pause on Ronnie for a second. And Ronnie actually makes me more sure about what I think about the Lindsay Clancy jury. This is why I'm not scared about the Lindsay Clancy jury. I think it is going to be a lot harder. Let's say that the jurors go into the deliberation room and they're 6 and 6 for guilty, not guilty when they first enter the room. If you have anybody in that room, which we are now seeing like as a society that more people have experienced with anything having to do with like postpartum depression, postpartum, just feel, even not even going as far as like just the feelings that come up postpartum. I think it is a lot harder for a juror to sit there and say like, no, I think she is a monster. I think she is guilty, when there is a deliberating juror sitting across from you, sobbing, telling their story about this is what it is, like any mental health. When there is somebody sitting across from you sobbing, telling their story, saying, no, I had these feelings. I felt like her. I understand. I've been there before. I need you to understand how I felt in that case. When I heard those notes app, that was me. When I took this medication, it made me crazy. Like, there are enough personal anecdotes to go along with what they've heard about in trial that I think it is a lot harder for somebody to sit across from someone sobbing in that moment and say like, nope, I think guilty regardless. That is to say, I don't think that she'll be found guilty. I don't know between a hung jury and a not guilty by mental disease or defect. Back to Ronnie. Or it could be a whole room of Ronnies, and then who even knows? They're going to be like, imagine all Ronnies. They would just be like, what do you think? I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. What do you think? Back to this.
They reconciled. Was the ARCA testimony brought up by the people that thought that she was not guilty? Did they? I'm sure somebody in that room must have said, but these experts are telling us that that's not possible. And what was the answer to that? Like, did people say that these guys are bullshit artists, that they're fake doctors? Like, what was the reason not to believe them?
I think the major rebuttal was, we don't know. And that was the other thing. It was very ambiguous on why these individuals were testifying. And so there was a question in the group on their essential integrity, in terms of, were they there as a direct result of somebody else trying to steer us in a different direction and confuse the jury. So it wasn't sure if it was insurance. It wasn't sure if it was, whether the Reeds were doing it, somebody else was doing it, or yourself was doing it to bring this group to try to testify so that it would sway the jury in one direction or the other. And that, I think that was one of the things that was, again, unfortunate, because I guess it cannot be said, or didn't want to be revealed to us on what were the circumstances of why those individuals were testifying, other than they were testifying for the defense.
Because now you know. obviously now that the trial's over, that they're not even defense experts, they're FBI. They were available to both sides, and only the defense called them. But it seems like the conversation in the room went, and they said some people were suggesting maybe they were the insurance company, of course, because of course an insurance company would benefit from not having an automobile collision. Obviously, they wouldn't have to pay anything out. Or me.
So as a direct result from this interview, this answer right here, Alan Jackson makes it clear with the ARCA experts. He says, you weren't hired by an insurance agency, correct? To make it clear to the second jury that they were not. Also important to note that Ronnie just said that the jury had thought maybe Aiden hired ARCA.
They don't realize that's Karen?
What?
They don't realize that it's Karen that did it?
Yeah, the jury thought maybe Aiden hired them.
Guys, that's wild.
I don't even think that's legal.
Like anybody, somebody who was trying to try to sway the jury in one direction versus the other.
Why?
I'm not that powerful. I promise you. I can't afford those guys. But so that's basically the reason that they came up with. They said they heard all their testimony, and then they said, nah, those guys are just probably paid off by the insurance company. We're going to disregard everything that they said.
Yeah, and one of the other reasons is,
does he think way too deep, or does he not think deep enough? We could have a whole debate on that one.
A lot of people think
because there was the other testimony of the individual from the dog bite expert and all of the other things that the defense was trying to bring up, that again wasn't sure if it was just to try to confuse or sway the jury in one direction versus the other, or create a jury which was created reasonable doubt, and therefore the vote had to be in one direction versus the other.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that some of the jury.
It's the stupidest. What? Did he just basically say we weren't sure why there were expert witnesses there?
Yeah. And so he thought, like, well, because we didn't know like why they were here, we didn't really like listen to them.
Did he know why he was there?
No, I don't know if he knows why he's anywhere at any time, all the time. Also, something that I forgot to point out to you at the beginning is that people call him Ronnie Bowtie because this is the only time that we see him ever not wearing a bow tie. He wears a bow tie every other like public appearance that he makes, which ended up being a lot of public appearances because after this he became like the go-to. So anytime like the news had like conversations about the trial, or like Canton Chronicle or other like, and he was just he did the whole circuit of like Ronnie Bowtie in all the studios. And then the minute that Charlie DeLoach came into our life, he was just gone from our lives. Who knows where he is now?
I like the bow tie. Can't do.
Yeah, I'll find you a
Those in the
picture from the
room
bow tie.
We're saying that all of this defense third-party culprit thing, a dog biting John, this is all bullshit. This is all a smokescreen, and all these people, this dog bite expert they're bringing in, this is all a distraction from the fact that Karen Reed ran John over. Is that an accurate portrayal of what people were saying in that room?
That is correct.
Wow. Okay.
What?
So in order to believe that Karen Reed killed John O'Keefe, you have to believe that, and that John O'Keefe didn't go inside the house.
Roads.
You have to
They
believe
have
all
cars in their possession.
Mm-hmm. Everything else was a distractor. Yep. So everything else that happened in the trial, aside from the fact that Karen was there, John was there, and John was dead, everything else was a distractor. Like, to be clear, that's not even like what you want, like, as the prosecution to hear. Like, this isn't even somebody that like you'd be proud of if this is like the answer you were looking for.
How did he pass? How did he get past the attorneys? They questioned him. Were I correct? There was voir dire, wasn't there? Oh,
This
that's
is
not
normally
him.
what
That
he
is
looks like.
not him. That is a head on a. That's AI. That's a too big. What is going on in that picture? What is happening there? That is not even the same. That's not the same person. This is like saying Epstein killed himself. That's not
That
the
came
same
from
person. Look at the
that
earlobes.
came from Court TV. Karen Reed juror joins Court TV. Quote, "We did not ask the right questions." That's the headline. This one is jurors' advice for Karen Reed, attorneys on both sides. That's where the pink one came from. And
But
the
look at his
yellow one
hair. His
comes
hair's different.
I mean, this is
Like
not
it's
the
all
conspiracy is
different.
not that this
Look
is
at
a
that.
different
Look at
person.
how different that is. That is not the same person. That is not the same person.
Juror from Karen Reed trial speaks out, says current trial feels similar. That's this headline.
No, not the same
All
person.
of the McAlberts.
Yep.
I mean, you put a bow tie on one of those balloons in the background right there, and it looks like. Look at him. Look at him. He's got broad shoulders right here.
I think it's just the camera
Look at
angle.
his haircut. He looks like a deformed oxalotl. The other one.
This is also the new conspiracy. There's multiple Ronnies.
Dude, I'm telling you. This is. No, it's not the same person.
Yes, it was. Okay, continue enlightening us, Ronnie.
Testified. And so, am I correct in saying that they found the McAlberts to be convincing witnesses and truth tellers?
Correct. And I will say that that's to some respect, not only to say it's correct, but also to some respect, because there were some individuals who just looked at the facts. Again, the clear fact
You
that
just looked at the facts. No,
Karen was operating a vehicle and drove the vehicle to that location, 34 Fairview, and then ultimately John O'Keefe lay at rest and died on essentially that address. And so
Karen Reed was operating a vehicle. She drove to that address, and John died at that address.
Essentially laid at rest. Essentially laid at rest. That's when you bury someone, you lay them at rest.
Yeah, that's what happened. So Karen was driving a car, and she drove to a place where John was found dead. So Karen did it. Obviously, the facts. He said all we wanted to look at was the facts. And those were the facts. And Arco was a distractor, and Dr. Marie Russell was a distractor, because the only facts that matter was that Karen drove to 34 Fairview. He doesn't even say anything about driving in reverse. He doesn't even talk about that.
I cut down a cherry tree one time. Does that make me George Washington?
Yeah, of course.
everybody else is saying that he never entered the premises, therefore she must be at fault, because he clearly did not just injure himself there. So
did anybody suggest
that
maybe the McAlberts are not being truthful, that maybe he did go inside? I assume somebody in the room, the not guilty voters, must have said that these people are lying, obviously. And what did people say to that? I mean, did some people believe at least that they weren't being honest?
I think the individuals who believe that she was not guilty was because of the mere fact that it was not.
Chris Albert, but yes.
Chris Albert, Brian Albert, I always mess this up. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I know you do. It's okay. You don't have to apologize. That means I have to do a better job teaching.
No, I'm horrible with names.
Mhm.
Is
Yeah,
that
also
not brought up? I mean, he drove there.
Ryan Nagel also drove there at the exact same time. Also, Tristan drove there later. Also, Matt McCabe drove when he left, and Higgins drove when he left. So apparently, none of that matters because Karen was operating a vehicle and drove to 34 Fairview, and then John was dead there.
Not adding up. So
I want to go
the
back
injuries
first
to
grade.
John O'Keefe ultimately did not add up to the damage to the vehicle. And what ultimately
Okay, wait. I want to go back to the beginning of this answer without messing it up too much because this is wild. Because he's like, yeah, so like none of the evidence really made sense, but it didn't matter because the facts are that Karen was
Being
there.
honest.
Okay, here's what Turtle Boy's gonna have to do. Y'all are gonna tell Turtle Boy this. If he ever gets another interview like this, he has to ask the person to turn the camera in a complete 360 to make sure somebody's not in that room telling them what to say. Because this is not human answers. These are McAlbertsons.
I mean, but I don't think it's not in the room. It's in his head. It's whatever happened in that jury room it's embedded in his brain now. They don't have to be in the room with him anymore. So listen, so
I
this
cannot see
question
his
that
right ear. I think he has an earbud in. He's being told what to say.
No, this at this point, it doesn't, what he says doesn't matter. This is embedded in his brain at this point. This is the decision that he made in the jury room. So the question that Aiden's about to ask is, did it cross your mind that maybe the witnesses could have been lying? And listen to his answer.
individuals who believe that she was not guilty was because of the mere fact that it was not adding up. So the injuries to John O'Keefe ultimately did not add up to the damage to the vehicle. And what ultimately injured him was, or led to his death, was a injury to his head, which was not very clear that that type of damage could have occurred on the vehicle. And there was no damages on the vehicle that would indicate that kind of situation. So for those who were skeptical, that's what they were looking at.
Yeah, the Commonwealth alleges that that his arm, I still can't believe they said this theory, that the arm was out and that the arm is what caused the taillight basically acted as a knife and just sliced his arm up and then caused him to spin and then land 30 feet on the grass. And the gash in the back of the head came from hitting the grass, which they said was so hard that it somehow caused a gash in the back of his head. People really believe that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of people in the room, some people who were experts in science, right, and physics, or have some knowledge
were they
of
paid
physics.
for by the insurance company?
So what he's talking about here, I forget if he actually goes on to say more about this, but in that jury room, there was like an engineer and like another some who thought that Karen was guilty, and so they were explaining what like Trooper Paul couldn't explain to like explain the physics of what happened. So they're like, Trooper Paul didn't prove it in the trial. We can all agree on that. But I'm going to explain to you in the jury room what like Trooper Paul couldn't explain. Also, I'm no Samantha Beningo, but when he was just giving that answer about like the people who think that she is not guilty think this, he had no ownership over that answer. Like that there was no part where he said like, we thought, I said, I know. He said, the people who thought she was guilty, the people, not me. So he tells Aiden at some point that like he was a not guilty vote, but also like he doesn't own any of the not guilty like logic. He was a guilty vote, obviously.
necessarily believe that as the case, given the circumstances that it was not very clear. But again, some individuals just believed at just the circumstance that Karen and John were there at the same time, and John ultimately was killed.
And the text stream data is what you mentioned to me a lot last time, and you said that was what the guilty people really stuck to, was the text stream data. What was so convincing about the text stream data for them?
It was a combination of the speed, and suddenly there's an increase in speed and a decrease in speed, consistent with maybe somebody backing up. And so that, looking at that, was kind of convincing that she must have accelerated in a backwards motion. And then
even though that 24 miles an hour in reverse 62 feet thing, there was no time associated with that. It was measured in what's called key cycles, and they couldn't explain, like, at least they didn't say for sure, like, this happened at 12:32. For all we know, that event could have happened at another time or another place, because they didn't give us a time. But people were pretty convinced just based on that alone that, yeah, that's proof positive that it happened at that exact same time.
I think it was a combination of, again, the circumstance that both individuals were there. There's evidence of a broken tail light, the injury to John, and the injuries that John sustained. And then ultimately, that texting data was just another piece that indicated, yes, there must have been some movement. It was very interesting, though it wasn't very clear. And I think I said this last time, that it would have been nice to have somebody who is an expert in that, or somebody who has knowledge of that type of data from that company, right? From Lexus or whatever company, right? And to provide some information on if that can be accurate and what causes it to actually occur. So, for example, like I was saying, or I was thinking, like right now, as I'm driving home, right? My car could have slipped, and that could have triggered something, right? To suggest that maybe that will make a trigger that I'm driving kind of erratically, but it's not because of me. It's because of the ice and the snow on the roadway causing that to occur, which we all know that during this time frame, that's the type of weather that was being experienced by Karen during and all individuals.
I feel like Aiden is like clenching his hands so tight right there. Like it's probably like imprints on his hands. But he really is. Yes, I do feel like the way that Aiden structured this interview was much better for like getting all of this info. If Aiden had been like combative with him and been like, that was so stupid. Like, why would you ever think? He would have gotten quiet, and we wouldn't have learned as much as we did about what was going on in his head. But yeah, I can only imagine what was going through his mind.
I should say during this time frame.
So if the defense had an expert from Toyota or whatever that could explain, like, is there anything that could make it look like you went a certain velocity and you really didn't? Maybe your tires were spinning, maybe the RPMs were up. That would have been a good witness for them to call.
I think that would have been helpful. That was definitely would be a helpful piece.
Okay. Let's talk about reasonable doubt. Going back and listening to it all, the defense gave you this story about what's reasonable doubt. They didn't tell the house. He was beaten up and he was left outside to die on the lawn. And then Karen Reed was framed there after the fact. All right. And what I didn't hear much from the defense in their closing arguments was about what reasonable doubt was. Did you guys discuss what reasonable doubt was in the jury room? Was that made clear what that was? Because some of the things that you're saying right now is reasonable doubt. Even the arguments that Karen Reed, from the people that believe Karen Reed is guilty, they're making arguments for reasonable doubt. Did you guys understand what reasonable doubt was?
I believe we did, and that's where we kind of essentially got stuck, is because I think that's why it ended up as a hung jury, is because we kept rehashing that second charge, in that some of us felt there was enough reasonable doubt and some of us did not. And not that we're trying to coerce anybody or try to convince anybody to vote one way versus the
But
other.
did they understand
but
what reasonable doubt was?
I think everybody had a clear picture of it. That being said, I don't know if everybody wanted to vote in a particular way based on
Ask Ronnie to explain reasonable doubt right now.
the reasonable doubt.
Now you've had, you obviously were not sequestered, but you were like not supposed to go home and watch any of this, consume any of this. I don't know if other jurors were. I'm assuming if you weren't, and even if you were, you probably wouldn't tell me, at least not on the show. So assuming that that everybody actually followed, that order, they didn't read up about this case, et cetera, while this was going on. Do you think that, is it even possible for a case? Like, how do you guys do that? Like, how do you go home every day and not turn the TV on and not have bias when it comes to this story during this trial?
So it was very interesting because we tried, or it was one of those things where you do what you're asked. And I think it was a honest and trustable jury in that we all followed the rules, which is not to watch TV, diet from that, diet from reading the news or any of the tickers, and not pay attention to the
Diet from that is a crazy way to phrase that. We had to diet from that.
those things. Or if something were to come up, we were required to report it as such, that we had some sort of interaction. But like I said, most of us, I should say all of us, were pretty good about it. And we just, dieted from the news and the media.
All right. So I'm sure a million people have.
It was like Lent for him. Yeah. No, just diet. He had like less.
Questions. So I'm gonna read some questions that we have from Turtle Riders in the chat here, because I'm sure there's a bunch. Okay, our first one. This is a $10 one from Jay. And again, if you guys are gonna write them in, keep them brief. I will not read your freaking paragraph questions, so keep it brief. So, how do you overlook paramedics' omission of possible? This is from Jay for $10. Possible vehicle strike in the report narrative. The radio report to the hospital and the other report are both available to be examined, and would have been two opportunities for this medic to have reported document if it actually happened.
I just saw that.
So I think one of the things there is it would have been nice if that was all documented per se. Again, the jury is limited on what we are actually able to see in terms of the documentation. So we are only given a certain piece of the documentation, and majority of it is based on the testimony of the individual. So the individual can read the document, or they need to read the document and then kind of say it out loud to the jury, and that's what's provided to us.
No, Ronnie, you have all of the exhibits were entered into evidence. What? What's the point of all of these attorneys being like, I'd like to enter this as evidence. Okay, this is marked as AA for identification. No, none of that made it through to him.
Next question here. This is a random one. Lem sends for $50. Long time, first time. Could you please ask the juror if they ever followed Turtle Boy, Olivia Lambo, or Joe Flipperhead? Do you follow any of those accounts on Twitter? Did you follow Turtle Boy before any of this? You probably have no
No.
clue who I was. That's
I'm
okay.
sorry, first time to learn about any of those. And in fact, first time I learned about Dr. Turtle Boy was when I got contacted. So
Well, thank you for respecting my pronouns. All right. So do you have now that the trial's over, have you consumed any of this, or you just went back to your life like whatever?
I think, as at least for me, and I believe the majority of the jury, we all wanted to just go back to our normal lives, and we haven't really followed much of it other than knowing full well, just occasionally, that it was a hung jury and that it's probably going to be retried, and we know that it's being retried and we know the date, but I honestly have not gone and searched anything or researched much of anything in terms of the case, because I lived it.
Do you
pretty
think
much.
if the defense had been allowed to mention that there was a federal investigation into the investigation itself, and that the FBI paid for those ARC experts to be there, would that have affected the outcome of the trial?
I believe that it would definitely have changed. I believe most likely would have changed the hung jury, or made it more unanimous of a vote, so it would be easier to kind of look at, and they would still ask us to continue deliberation because it would just be a few individuals left.
Next one here. This is from $30 from Dawn. Could the juror confirm if the jury slip was the updated version requested by Alan Jackson, or is it the one that they never updated? Did you guys get confused by that?
Yeah, so we got two different slips. The first slip that we got was updated and changed. I cannot recall the exact date or day that we were given the new slip, but we definitely were given a new slip that was updated charges and updated verbiage.
Okay. This is from Kim for $10. Says, what questions were you asked of when you were chosen as a juror? Good question. During the voir dire, when you guys were called up and your little conference there with the judge and the attorneys, what were they asking you? What questions?
Each individual is different. I think the major question was for me is that would I be biased in any way, shape, or form because of my medical training, and so that wouldn't overlook the evidence and have an opinion and have a bias as a direct result of my medical training without looking at the evidence entirely, and kind of, do I have a bias versus or against or for law enforcement?
Really? Who asked you that question? The Commonwealth or the defense? Do you remember?
I believe it was more of the defense.
Okay. The defense asked.
And he was like, no, I would never be biased. I don't even have a strong enough opinion about what that could possibly mean. And Lally was like, I'll take him.
What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
He's like, what's yours? That's mine too. I like vanilla also. Thanks for suggesting that. Yeah. Oh, you said chocolate? Oh yeah, actually, yeah, that's mine too. Yeah. Oh, what? You don't like ice cream? Me neither. No. Ew, ice cream, gross.
Towards law enforcement. Okay.
I believe it was the defense who asked.
And you said you were just indifferent, whatever. Because if you said, yeah, my dad's a cop or something like that, you'd be the first one on the cutting line. If you said something like that.
I don't know. Perhaps I tried to be honest, I tried to get out of it. I actually thought I was just going in just the first day. I didn't even know what the whole thing was until at the end when they were starting to select us, what was going on. But I thought it was just going to be a regular jury.
He's like, what's going on? I have no idea. They're like, we'll take him. He has no idea why he's there.
You're not supposed
Were you
to
there April 16th, the first day of juror selections?
No, I
or-
was there on the second day, on the 17th.
Okay, the second day. They picked 7 that day. So that's interesting. And so you went into that, and you must have seen crowds of people outside.
Yankees, Massachusetts.
What
It's
the
very
hell is
interesting.
this?
It actually,
Interesting.
so what? Oh, in the Edric Faust.
He's from Australia.
Was it the Edric Faust trial recently? There was one trial where we got to see jury selection, and we saw, it was like so interesting. They had like all the jurors in this big kind of like, all the pews were full, and they were asking them, they would ask like one question to everybody. They would say like, stand up if you have like family in law enforcement. And then each person had to say like, my uncle is in law enforcement, my brother's in law enforcement. Would that impact your ability to be, was it Edric? Was it Donna Adelson? Is that what it was? It was so interesting to watch. It was Donna Adelson. And then they could ask them like individual questions, or they would say something like, does anyone in your family have like something, some personal question? And some people like went up to sidebar to like explain their answer. And then they were asking questions like they had to be like, have any of you had like in interaction like with the law? And like all these people had to be like, I was arrested when I was 18 for like breaking and entering. It was like kind of embarrassing but you couldn't see the people, but you could hear their answers.
What's going on here?
Yeah, I actually didn't realize what we were being selected for and what was the case until it was read to us by the judge. But essentially, I thought I was going to go in my typical jury duty, go in there and spend like maybe a few hours and then get out, be able to have lunch and have the rest of my afternoon, as opposed to the other way around where I was there for a little while for a full jury selection.
Next one is for Mackenzie, sends $5, and she kind of asks my question about the reconstruction experts, FBI, etc. And then she says at the end, like, how she says, because I don't understand how someone could take Officer Paul's reconstruction seriously and disregard the 2 defense experts, because he was the only one that was the expert that explained for the Commonwealth how John O'Keefe got hit by a car. Did jurors actually take him seriously? Did they think his testimony went well?
Oh, yeah.
Again, I don't think necessarily we were looking at one individual for their testimony. We kind of looked at the whole picture, bringing it back to the circumstance that somebody is dead, and those 2 individuals that came to that household or that address, one of those individuals is dead and the other individual is alive. Ultimately, and there's damage to the vehicle, then that individual must be responsible for.
So to be clear, the question is like, how did you value Trooper Paul's testimony over the ARCA experts? And his answer is basically neither expert mattered to me because Karen was there and John was there.
Like, do you even? There's so many stupid questions I want to ask. So many stupid questions. It's like, do you understand why there's a trial? Do you understand why there's a process of trial? Do you understand why they have expert witnesses? But it didn't matter during this case, right? Like you say you understand this, but it doesn't matter under this case. Do you understand what innocent until proven guilty means? What is this?
The other flawed logic in his answer about like, well, we didn't know who ARCA was hired by. It's like, but you do know who Trooper Paul was hired by. It's the state that is trying to get a conviction. So there's just as much bias on that side as there would be on the defense side.
And guess what? He's not going to vote for Adam Deitch.
Oh God, I wonder who he is voting for.
That's the type of people. That's the type of people you're up against.
I mean,
He's
I actually feel like
because he saw Lally and he saw all the guys in there. They're all his friends. He saw them in court.
Yeah, but also he seems like somebody who's not going to vote in a September 1st primary. Like he did. That's what
EMT's vote.
Or
EMT's
he
vote.
seems like somebody that if somebody came to his door and said, "Hey, I want you to vote for Adam Deitch," he'd be like, "Okay, whatever you say."
EMT's vote. Remember that.
Okay.
He's going to vote.
Well,
This is what you're up against, y'all. If that doesn't make you want to go out and knock on doors and put a yard sign up, let me tell you what, you go ask somebody if you can put a yard sign in their yard. They'll let you do it. It's
I
amazing.
actually feel
how
like
people,
he would vote for like Bearcat, and I would be okay with that.
That injury.
So like,
Fisher
you know,
cat.
her dropping him off there and whatever, like that's not proof of anything, right? I mean, that's bad. God forbid, like I hope nobody else ends up in a situation where they drop someone up the house and then they end up dead. And it's like, well, you dropped them off, so you obviously killed them. But you mentioned the taillight. That's the only real physical piece of evidence that they had against Karen Reed. However, was it brought up during deliberations that the Canton police searched the scene at 7 a.m. with a leaf blower and they videotaped?
Okay, wait, that was a good question. I don't want to interrupt, but Strains reminded me that he said in another interview that he actually doesn't live in Norfolk County. And he didn't live in Norfolk County at the time, but he hadn't changed his address yet. So he won't be voting for DA regardless.
It. And they didn't find a single
So he's not even
piece
supposed to be a juror.
of bright red taillight on the snow, yet they found
how does that work?
45
I've
pieces
never thought about
over the
that.
next few weeks. Was there any discussion that perhaps taillight might have been planted?
There were some individuals that were definitely stuck on that and believed that was reasonable doubt, but there were some individuals that believed that it made a bit, again, just circumstance or happenstance, that maybe there wasn't enough snow at the time, and therefore now ultimately now the ground is covered and therefore you couldn't see the pieces because it's covered, but prior to that maybe now you can see it. So
Well, it would be the opposite, because when the Canton police got there at 7 o'clock, there was 3 inches of snow in the ground, tops, maybe 4, 3 to 4. And
you see one in your front yard.
It's a lot of taillight, right? And they had their leaf blower out, and they have a video of him finding these transparent pieces of cocktail glass. Paul Gallagher finds them. So they were able to find transparent pieces of cocktail glass, but not all that red taillight. Was the general consensus that the Canton police are just completely incompetent? Wouldn't they have to be if they didn't find any taillight? Was that the consensus?
I don't think that was the consensus. I think the consensus was just, again, they looked at all of the overarching evidence, not just that one little piece. So individuals looked at everything and said, nope, that's not enough to say that that created reasonable doubt.
All right, next question here is from Melanie. Sends $10. Goes, did he see the footage of Alan Jackson in court arguing with the judge about how the confusing juror forms were, and what did he think of that? Did you guys know that battle was going on inside the courtroom?
I do not know of that in particular. I never saw the footage, but I understand that it was very confusing. And again, unfortunately, it's a fallacy in the system that it wasn't clarified for us that we could look at each individual charge independently of each other.
Okay. Now,
Ronnie's like, I'm used to being confused, so I don't know. It was confusing, but like that's just my baseline. I just like go around life just being confused. So
Natalie sends $5 and says, what arguments or comments from guilty jurors led you to temporarily change from not guilty?
So to not guilty, I
from
think
not guilty to guilty.
Not guilty to guilty. I think ultimately, again, some of us.
Wait, what did he just ask to clarify? Hold on.
You went from
judge about how the confusing juror forms were, and what did he think of?
I went back too far.
Independently of each other.
Okay. Natalie sends $5 and says, what arguments or comments from guilty jurors led you to temporarily change from not guilty?
So to not guilty, I
From
think
not guilty, from not guilty to guilty.
Yeah, so
not
he was
guilty
never
to,
not
to guilty. I think ultimately, again, some of us broke down because it was very clear. They clearly displayed that both individuals were under the influence of alcohol at the time, and therefore should
Nothing to
not
do
have
with it.
been operating a vehicle. So
There's nothing to do with it.
the
Has nothing
operation
to
of the
do with the
vehicle.
Chargers.
Yeah, so she was drunk.
Look at the
She
look on
shouldn't have
Turtle
been-
Boy's face.
She was drunk. She shouldn't have been driving.
And that is that second charge, which is involuntary manslaughter as a direct result of operating a vehicle under the influence of alcohol. So that is what a lot of people kind of swayed on, that yes, they shouldn't have been operating the vehicle, and it's not murder too, but could it be that she operated the vehicle negligently and therefore led to involuntary manslaughter? So that's where there could be a sway.
So it was the fact that she was, admittedly had, so the I would say, so the testimony from the police about she had 4 drinks here, that was very effective, obviously, because ultimately they said, well, she was drinking and driving, so she probably did it.
I think it was not only that, but the video footage of the drinks that she was having was very strong in leading to that kind of opinion and thought process.
Okay. Even though the rest of them were also drunk. I mean, everyone was drinking and driving that night, including the police, and that didn't bother anyone else.
I think it bothered everybody, but ultimately we have to look at who's being charged here, and the individual who's being charged was Karen. So unfortunately, nobody else was being charged.
We had to look at who was being charged. Unfortunately, nobody else was being charged. So it's like if somebody else were also being charged and they were the ones who were drinking and they drove their car to the same place. Like zero understanding of innocent until proven guilty.
This is how juries are. If they see somebody arrested and they think, oh, they got arrested, they must have done it. It's Gil, what's up, man?
But that's why I
just
feel like as frustrating as this is, it is so important to just like understand, and also for us to like who might one day be in the position of being a juror on a trial to remember that like just because somebody is sitting there on trial does not mean that they are the ones who did it, and it is on us to like keep this system a well-oiled machine and like a system that actually works, to be open to the idea that the person is not guilty because they are not guilty.
Yeah,
Ronnie says, if not guilty, why guilty shaped? I love that.
Tom Gills is the first person that talked to me about Karen Reed's case, and he said, "Man, you got to follow Turtle Boy," and I was like, "Turtle what? Turtle Dove?" Like I had no idea. I guess he's probably the reason why he's probably the first. Yeah, Tom Gills.
J7. Thanks, J7.
Oh,
Charged with it. It was just Karen, so therefore Karen must have been, and both people were there during that same time frame.
So that's interesting that you say that, because, and I've long argued this.
I love when they can ask questions.
Being in the defendant's chair is you're already losing. You're already down 20-0, something like that, because you're here. You've been charged. You probably did it, or else you wouldn't be here right now. So you would argue that like the fact that she was charged at all and sitting in that defendant's chair and no one else was charged is pretty, that people were suggesting that was, pretty solid reason to vote guilty.
I believe that it was a combination of, so theoretically anybody, right, should be considered innocent until proven guilty. But here, they displayed clearly, the Commonwealth displayed that she was under the influence of alcohol, even though there was no breathalyzer per se at that exact time frame when the incident occurred. Right, it was after the fact, but based on the evidence of the receipts and the video showing that she was under the influence of alcohol and then operating the vehicle, that would be easy to kind of charge her with involuntary manslaughter, operating a vehicle under the influence.
So I have a question here from another juror. Is actually from the one of the jurors who was not chosen to deliberate, and I'm getting a message from them now, and they said this is the quote. Did the jury ever discuss to a moral certainty as part of the reasonable doubt discussion, or would having an attorney in the room have been helpful for that? Because I believe one of the jurors who was randomly chosen not to be in the jury was an attorney. So would it have helped to have an attorney in the room describe what to a moral certainty was? Was that discussed at all?
I think having that level of expertise in the room would have been helpful for everything, including the fact that, number one, that all 3 charges could be looked at independently, and somebody who has that level of expertise to clearly indicate to us the moral certitude of reasonable doubt.
Okay.
You guys, the moral certitude. The moral certitude.
Certitude of reasonable doubt?
He said they needed Victoria George there, basically. And she was coincidentally not picked, which, we need time to get to her tonight. So we'll end on her.
You
we'll
don't
watch more
figure, you don't.
We'll finish Ronnie.
Stupid.
Because they went on to say that when we refer to moral certainty,
he's from
we mean the highest degree of certainty
schools.
possible in matters relating to human affairs. So obviously, this discussion didn't even take place at all.
Tonight.
So I won't say that it didn't take place because we read that statement multiple times to the group. I don't know if it hit home to the group more so if that individual was there to provide that level of expertise. Okay. So if somebody was there to provide that level of expertise, I think it would have been more realistic or tangible to the jury or the group rather than not. Because although it was read multiple times, and I will say that we read it multiple times, and I was one of the individuals who was reading it multiple times. It clearly may not have made an impact or have been as impactful as if there was somebody with that kind of experience and that level of knowledge.
Yeah, coincidentally.
Okay, wait, I want to switch over to playing this from my desktop. Hold on, because then I can speed it up because I don't know how to do that. When it's like through StreamYard. Hold on. How did I just do that? No, but I can do it this way. And then I can put him on 1.5 because he goes on for 2 hours of this. And eventually it's just too much because I want to have time to get to Victoria George
guys,
too.
Like, did you guys ever talk about this before you started to deliberate? And what was it like the moment that you went in that room? Like, what's the first thing people said? Like, okay, so let's get this over with. Or what do you guys want to do first? What was that like?
We actually didn't. So in terms of just going into the room before deliberation, we really didn't talk much about the case when we were, other than a couple, comments here and there. And even when we were, when we were together, we were really deliberating and talking a lot about the case. But we did definitely talk about the case during the deliberation process. And we tried to figure out where to start. I think ultimately we came up with looking at all the evidence and looking at the video files, looking at the pieces of evidence that was provided to us. And we kind of looked at all of those over the course of the time frame that we did our deliberations.
This is from Kelly. If Chloe bit, you must have quit for $10. Says, I want to thank you, Ronnie, for coming on to stand up for what is right in the name of justice. What was the biggest thing that caused you to believe in her innocence or that there was reasonable doubt?
Ultimately, what made me sway back to reasonable doubt was, yes, she was there and he was there at the same time frame. However, the injury that ultimately causes death was inconsistent with the physics of the damage to the car. And the other piece that causes death was the hypothermia. So those two pieces, which was presented to us, was the basal skull fracture to the back of his head and the hypothermia.
That's when he died, not hypothermia.
And so ultimately, what I also thought about was that he was the one who kind of, and I'm not trying to put blame on him, but he ultimately was the one who was insistent to try to go back and go to this place. So 34 Fairview, he was the one who kind of programmed the GPS to that location.
John's fault.
And she was the one who was asking to just go and have something to eat. Granted, it was a pizza place that was closed. She wasn't really looking to go drinking anymore. At least it seemed like it. He was and continued to party. So not trying to put.
So what swayed Ronnie to not guilty was that John was the one that wanted to go to 34 Fairview, not Karen. Karen wanted pizza, so that made him think, oh, she's not guilty because she wanted pizza and he wanted to party.
Blame on him, but it doesn't seem like she is at fault of whatever ultimately came about at 34 Fairview.
Because she just wanted to go home and eat food.
That's what it seems like.
Right. Okay. All right. Next up, this is Nicole for $10. Says, hi, Ronnie. Thank you so much for your bravery coming on Turtle Boy tonight. In your opinion, do you think there's any possibility that one of the jurors who were firm on guilty could have ties to the McAlberts and thus already knew that they were going to try to vote guilty going into it?
It's possible. I mean, it's a small world, right? So who knows? I can't say that's speculation.
I'm just reading the question. I'm like, I don't really like that question because I don't know how you're supposed to answer that. But they gave it a shot anyway. Next one. This is B for $10. Says, this is a question I like. Would access to transcripts of trial help change the decision or help you guys deliberate?
Yes, I think it would be helpful to see all of the transcript. It also is what people sometimes don't understand is the jury wasn't allowed to look at whatever was objected versus sustained in terms of there was some overrules that were there. So those had to be scratched out. That's why we had notebooks. It would have been nice to know ahead of time how long it was going to go, and we should have probably organized our notes a little bit better. So we did take notes extensively, but it would have been nice to have access to those transcripts to actually look through certain things as well. I don't know if it would have changed it ultimately, again, because of the unclear direction of the charges. So if we had better direction as well, I think we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. And I think the trial would have been done last year.
Right. Romy sends $50. Says, this is amazing. Thank you for speaking, Ronnie. People are very happy that you're willing to come on and talk. And you're not. I mean, good. I appreciate you coming on because this is nothing wrong with this, and I hope more jurors do this and talk about what happened. Are you worried about this? Were you nervous about coming on here at all? Were you apprehensive? Because when I asked you just said sure.
At the time when you said it, it wasn't anything of a problem. And then as it gone on, I was like, what could happen? But now talking, I feel relieved that I'm talking and letting people know the story. I think the story is important for people to understand and also to still believe there is, hopefully at the end, right, a good justice system and it works out. Because otherwise, if you look at it, she would have been imprisoned and because of what happened. And clearly, it may not have been the right choice. So I think, right, we will just have to let the next jury make the decision.
Let me ask you something. Did jurors not express any just general?
He's so happy with that. He's smiling with that.
And I think Karen Reed's biggest obstacle that she faces are the facial reactions that she makes in court. And I think some jurors, I know that one juror who was dismissed actually was dismissed because she made a comment to other jurors about Karen Reed's facial reactions. Did that come up at all in deliberations, Karen Reed's facial reactions in court?
I think not only her reactions, but other individuals' reactions. I think it was interesting because we all kind of focused on certain people or certain things inside the courtroom. And there was family members' reactions, other individuals' reactions. But in terms of her specifically, I personally did not kind of put any kind of qualifier or quality.
Well, we know you didn't. But were the guilty people, did they bring, did it seem like they just didn't like her, the jib of her sail, the way she looked, because she's not a typical murder defendant. She comes in court, she smiles, she makes faces, she doesn't cry. Did that rub some people the wrong way?
I think it probably solidified it for some, based on some of her reactions to what was being said or what was going on in the courtroom.
Okay. Do you believe that Brian Albert but answered his phone while having sex with his wife at 2:22 in the morning?
I find that very hard to believe. But
everybody does. Everybody does. And I don't even know if Ronnie's ever been naked with another person before.
Next one. This is from Denise Tuttle for $10. Says,
Patrick A. Ball says not likely.
Does this juror think she was framed? And has anything he's learned since the trial changed his mind?
So I think there's a lot of bias in the investigation, and therefore it's hard to go in that direction of, I think it created enough reasonable doubt in my mind that she was not guilty. Whether she was framed, that's a different scenario. But again, a jury would look at it and say that she's not guilty based on reasonable doubt. So,
well, if Karen Reed is not guilty, then by definition, she had to have been framed because all that taillight got there, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So it's just interesting. So it seems like in this situation, you either had to believe the McAlberts were honest or you didn't. And did the Google search come up? Because this Google search was what ultimately got me hooked on this case. That 227 Google search that came back as deleted. And then the deleted phone calls from Jennifer McCabe to her sister at 6:07 and 6:08, and Brian Albert not coming out of the house, etc. Did you guys discuss the behavior of the McAlberts and how suspicious it was?
We extensively discussed why was the first person to go to the house, approach the house, was member of the family. You know what I mean? And then the other pieces of the Google search, we don't know. And again, there was not an expert in the group necessarily that could talk about it with enough knowledge on experience, and that if those...
Ronnie, there's not an expert in the group. There's an expert in the trial. That's what the expert
He wants to hang out with his
witnesses
friends.
were. Yeah, he's like, I don't know. Nobody here is a cell phone expert. So I guess it doesn't matter.
That was the best time of his life, was hanging out back there in the deliberation room.
They had
like,
Richard
I had so many
Green.
friends.
The defense had Richard Green, a cell phone expert that explained all of it. He's like, I don't know. He's not in the room. So who knows what that guy was? He's not one of my people.
Google searches can track to the exact timeline and time frame and backtrack. So, we're not really sure about that, but we looked at it and said,
he didn't even live there.
Distractors.
That's what the consensus was. That the 227 Google search was a distraction.
Again, kind of distractor. I think some
distractors. He called all of these things distractors. So like Arco was
evidence.
A distractor. The 227 Google search evidence. All the evidence was a distractor. Yeah, this is what
selfish.
He really thought that the jury was supposed to solve the case. Like they were just hearing all of like a story out there in the courtroom, and then they were supposed to go back and figure out the actual evidence.
You've seen the evidence. I had explained to you by both sides. You tell us who is telling the truth, who you believe. But the burden's not 50-50. It's higher for the state to prove, because it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. What does beyond mean? How far is beyond?
And to a moral certainty. He was like, certitude? I don't know that word.
People were set at the very beginning that based on the evidence that they had seen so far, and kind of combing through some of the evidence, they kind of looked at it and said, you know what? Both individuals were there at that particular address. One person was operating the vehicle under the influence, and another person is now deceased.
Wow. All right, next question here. We have, this is from Not Man Shannon for $10, and says, if the defense took the time in closing to go over the jury instruction and relate each piece of evidence that establishes reasonable doubt to each jury charge, does Ronnie believe this would have helped the jury vote not guilty? I think we've kind of asked this already.
I believe that it would have probably been helpful to be able to have more of the data and clear instruction. So clear instruction, I think, would have ended up changing the scenario in terms of two of the charges, because we clearly said those two charges were essentially not guilty, right? So those two charges would be not guilty. The last charge, or the second charge, which is the involuntary manslaughter, I think if we had a level of expertise to ascertain reasonable doubt more tangibly to each individual in the jury, and a better explanation, then perhaps I believe that we would have been able to deliberate and go in one direction versus the other.
This is from Joan for $25 and says, knowing what you know now, what is your opinion regarding this case, and if you think he was hurt inside the house?
I think he wasn't injured by Karen and her vehicle. Where he was injured and who injured him, I don't know. And I think that's what law enforcement should be looking at, is trying to figure out. Unfortunately, it's been such a long time ago, but that's the mystery, right?
If you invited
But it doesn't
someone,
seem consistent.
if you invited someone over your house after the bar and then they ended up dead on your lawn 6 hours later, would you expect the police to search your house?
Well, unfortunately, if that were the circumstance, regardless of who it was, I would believe that law enforcement would comb my house and potentially go to each neighbor and interview each neighbor, and more testimony from neighbors and other individuals would have been presented.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that was just dismissed
He found
because
his brain.
they didn't think it was relevant testimony by the defense nor the prosecution. But I think it would have been important to have
The
interviews.
defense didn't have the opportunity. That's
or
stupid,
individuals.
dude. Bro, come on, man. Think before you talk. The defense wasn't there. The defense didn't know who this chick was. They got hired to defend her because they understand the law, man. They don't know who the neighbors are. They don't know who the Alberts are. They don't know who Chloe is. They don't know any of that stuff. But they know it's
No.
the facts.
Ronnie thinks that
Hey,
Alan
bro,
Jackson
this
should have been there at 6 a.m. when the 911
Right?
call came
Or
in to go
gone
interview
back
the neighbor.
and, I mean, well, how are you going to interview someone?
But
I
I
watched
feel
a
like this
video
was
that
just Ronnie
supposedly
being.
they
I
know
feel
where
like that
Amelia
answer
Earhart
was
is.
just Ronnie being a people pleaser, because everything else that he said up until this point doesn't sound like he believes what just came out of his mouth about Karen not hitting him. I don't know.
Ronnie's going to run for count commission.
He really is such a roller coaster. He starts talking and it makes a little bit of sense, and then 2 seconds later, he makes no sense at all. Maybe we should have started with this. This is what finally got Expert going.
Including a search of my house, because it's even though it's my house,
Yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned that, because across the street, and this was not even brought up at the trial, across the street, the deputy, or the lieutenant, I believe he's like a deputy chief now, named by the name of Tom Kelleher, from the Canton Police Department, lived directly across the street from the McAlberts at, I believe, 31 Fairview. And he has a Ring camera, and I actually knocked on his door one time as part of my investigative journalism. He didn't answer. And I stood where the Ring camera was, and I kind of pointed my camera out of the street, and lo and behold, it captures directly where this incident would have occurred if Karen Reed ran him over. If the defense had presented Tom Kelleher as a witness, and he had said that, the police never asked for his Ring camera video, would you find that suspicious as a juror?
Of course. I mean, it would be also suspicious if there was no recording, or there was supposed to be a recording and then suddenly it got lost.
And that's happened a couple times too, I believe.
Correct, in the course of the court.
Yeah, and didn't you guys, what do you guys think of the inverted video that was shown in court? Did you think that was on purpose? Did anybody think that was an accident?
It was definitely confusing because
Nefarious.
I thought it was on one side of the vehicle versus the other side. They were all on the right side versus the left side. And ultimately, when we realized it was inverted, it could be a honest mistake, but it's kind of hard to make an honest mistake when.
How? Explain to us an honest mistake. Do you have video in your phone? Invert it. Invert it. Tell me if your phone, if Steve Jobs is just getting into your Apple phone, and the ghost of Steve is inverting your videos. No.
Again, next up here, this is from Jessisa for $5, says, "Thank you for your service, Ronnie. Could you talk about the notebooks? What happened to them after the trial? And did the state police have any access to them or anything like that?"
Sorry, can you say that again? Yeah, you kind of cut out for.
Oh, sorry. Your notebooks that you guys had. What happened to them during the trial and after the trial? And do you know if the state police had any access to them?
So in terms of during the trial, after each day, the court officers would collect our notebooks. So we were not able to take them home or write any more notes or look at them when we went home. When we came back the next day, again, it'd be available to us, but we would never have them available in the secluded area where we were. It was always only in the courtroom so we can write notes in the courtroom. At the end, during deliberation, we were provided all those notebooks. We do not know. All we know is it was kept in a secured area by the court officers, but we don't know if the state police or anybody had access to it other than the court officers.
It wasn't a secured area. It wasn't a secured area. What are you talking about? What is this hocus pocus you're talking about?
Oh yeah, something we haven't really gotten into is that John Fanning, who is involved in the case, was also overseeing the jury. He's a police officer, Massachusetts State police officer. We could do an entire Squirrel School show just about John Fanning and how.
Does he look like a Massachusetts State Police?
He has hair.
Oh, that's how you get the inside job. That's how he works in the air
Yeah.
conditioning all day.
Yeah. He's basically
mayor.
single-handedly covered up Sandra Birchmore's murder. We could do a whole entire show just on him. But he was the one who was basically in charge of security for the jury. So he's like, just leave your notebooks with me, no problem. Yeah, just put them over here.
It follows the same chain of evidence, I bet. It's put into a sealed bag. Listen, I've done.
We have to get to Victoria George.
Sorry.
No, you don't have to be sorry at all. I'm
Are we ever
saying
going to
that
do?
for myself.
Are we going to get Sandra Birchmore? Is that something we're going to cover?
Yes.
That trial's coming up, right?
Yes, we will cover
We're
it
gonna do
before
that
his
live?
trial starts. Yes. Well,
We're gonna do it live?
No, it's in federal court, so there's not going to be.
Yeah, but
footage
you'll
of
have
it.
daily responses.
Yeah, we'll definitely do a Sandra Birchmore month coming up. We're doing next week. You get to see the good jurors. Well, tonight, if we get to Victoria George, you also get a good juror, but that's a whole other story.
We're gonna get to her. Hurry up, Jack! Quit bothering us.
No,
Stop harassing Emily. Stop it.
He's one of the not guilty voters.
The
How did they
chat's so
justify
funny
John's injury
tonight.
with a motor vehicle accident?
Put
And,
gems in there.
As a nurse, so this person's a nurse, and they say as soon as I the autopsy photos versus the vehicle, I immediately knew there was no way that he was hit by that vehicle. So I do know that one of the three solid that never wavered on not guilty, one of them was a nurse. Was she vocal about that? Because nurses are unanimous. Every nurse I've ever talked to was like, no way. Did the nurse offer her input a lot during the deliberations?
So the medical group was pretty vocal in terms of looking at the injuries based on our experience and seeing that it seemed inconsistent with the damages to the vehicle, and therefore that the vehicle strike was not ultimately what caused the death of Mr. O'Keefe. That being said, we couldn't figure out what caused those injuries. And I will say the medical group was trying to convince the entire group that the injuries are not consistent to the damages to the vehicle.
So the nurse was trying to convince people, like, look, I'm a nurse, guys. I see this all the time. That's not consistent with motor vehicle collision.
Correct. I think we were all kind of saying, no, that is not consistent based on our experience on the damage to the vehicle and the injuries that Mr. O'Keefe sustained.
All right. Next question here. This is from JJ sends $10. You said you guys came to the conclusion, or that some jurors came to the conclusion, that she hit him because she was there, he was there, and there was some kind of collision. If the defense did a better job at explaining that he wasn't hit by a vehicle, would that have changed your thoughts? Or if they focused on John sustaining injuries inside the house instead of from a vehicle? I don't understand the second part of that question, but I guess my question that will go along with this is like that. Do you think that they focus too much on the conspiracy aspect of what happened and not enough just on, look at, dude, there's no way this guy was hit by a car because that's what the science says?
I think that would have been helpful, because really creating the distractors, whatever distractors that may be, like he went inside the house, he got injured inside the house. There was the dog that bit him. There was, injury in the weight room downstairs. All of these became kind of like theories and confusing or distractors to the jury. So ultimately they just looked at the facts, and the facts were there's damage to the vehicle. Right. So a simple look at it is two individuals were there. Somebody was operating the vehicle under the influence. There's damage to the vehicle. It's a broken tail light. There's injuries to John O'Keefe, and now he is dead. Then who's ultimately at fault? The operator of the vehicle.
So there's damage to the vehicle. John is dead. So the operator of the vehicle is at fault, even if the person didn't get hit by a car. That's like saying like somebody was firing a gun, so they must have killed John, even though John wasn't shot.
Saying distractors, and that's what they were arguing. But their entire defense is third-party culprit. So are you saying that not the most effective defense? If you were coaching their lawyers for the second trial, like, would you say that isn't that as effective as you guys think it is?
I don't think it's as effective. I think it would have been better to focus on the evidence that the state is trying to promote, and focus on those and show the holes on those, or create the reasonable doubt based on those pieces of information. So, for example, have an expert other than the individuals that were there who could actually talk knowledgeably about the physics of damage to a vehicle. I understand the ARCA group, but somebody else potentially, or clear indication.
Have somebody else besides ARCA explain the thing that ARCA explained. Okay.
And that this is not a distractor. I think having those individuals testify at the end after all the other distractors, which was the expert on animal bites, and then also the little pieces of distraction there that was created might have not helped the last person.
But the last two to go were the ARCA guys.
Right. I think if the ARCA guys had gone before the distractors, I think it would have been better, because then it would have been more solid that, okay.
So if the defense experts had gone before the prosecution.
The physics is not there to promote the damage to the vehicle, and then introduce other explanations that may have caused the injuries and caused his demise.
Okay. Next up, this is from Colleen. Let's see. She sends $10. She said, did the jury complete verdict slips? Thank you for doing this, Ronnie. We kind of went over that already. So thank you, Colleen, for your donation. Melissa sends 10 and says, what did the jury think about the believability of Trooper Paul's testimony, especially when he was asked basic physics questions he couldn't answer? What do you guys think of him?
So I have to be honest. I think some of us couldn't help but laugh. And I don't know if it was heard or discernible. And we kind of laughed and kind of chuckled as he was providing some of his testimony. No offense to him, but he wasn't able to provide basic physics. And for somebody who's supposed to be a forensic expert in that reconstruction, then theoretically, he should have known some of that information, and he didn't. So we did not look at him as a credible individual, or at least I did not look at him as credible in terms of his testimony. But nobody else kind of gave a very clear indication of how the damage could have occurred to the vehicle.
Yeah, that's all they had. They said Trooper Paul was the one guy, and I mean, I couldn't believe what a disaster he was about. It just did. He said like that's how the phone got under it. It just did, and I couldn't believe that. But what do you think? Do you think that Jen McCabe? This is from John, since $5 says, what do you think of the Jen McCabe how long to die in cold at 2:27? Real quick. I mean, that obviously didn't seem to get brought up much.
I think it was very interesting if it did occur at that time frame. Why she'd be looking that up, and that creates suspicion.
If it occurred at 2:27, it would make sense why she looked it up.
Oh, no. I'm just saying, I know why she looked it up potentially then, but I think people were wondering, could it have been possible that was an error, right? Because that's what the testimony was, that if somebody was looking it up at 6 o'clock and they looked up something that was kind of similar at 2, then it may pull up that she looked at it at 2 when in fact she was only looking at it at 6.
So what you're saying is the Commonwealth's witnesses therefore sound like they were effective because they put doubt in your mind that maybe Jennifer McCabe didn't do that at 2:27.
Right. I believe that it was effective enough that it created reasonable doubt.
Okay. Adam Lally did something right. Okay. But the irony of that is that
no.
That creates doubt for Jennifer McCabe because she's not the one on trial. That creates reasonable doubt for Karen Reed, because if you think there's a possibility Jennifer McCabe might have done this, then that in and of itself is because we all agree that if she did it at 2:27, that there's a conspiracy here, correct? We all agree with that.
Correct. It seems like there's something going on there that should not have been going on. Why would she be looking that up during that time frame?
Right. So it just seems like the conclusion.
So Ronnie's like, that created reasonable doubt for me, like convicting Jen McCabe, and like couldn't put 2 and 2 together, that like, no, the reasonable doubt is if I'm thinking about convicting Jen McCabe, then that is reasonable doubt to vote not guilty for Karen.
Yeah. What?
Okay, we'll watch 4 more minutes of Ronnie, and then we'll switch over to Victoria George.
That the jury reached
that was so bad. Maybe
it was a mistake. Maybe it actually happened at 6:24. But that in and of itself, not knowing, that's supposed to benefit Karen Reed. Because if there's any chance that Jennifer McCabe did that, then that's reasonable doubt in and of itself. That wasn't really discussed, I'm guessing.
No, again, there was kind of dismissed given the circumstances. They were looking at the bigger picture, which was pieces of the evidence that was overarching.
Speaking of pieces of evidence, MNAP for $25 said, did anyone believe the taillight could have been planted?
I think people were thinking it, and that's why we looked at the timeline. We took a long time looking at video on what time.
Found the taillight 3 weeks later, genius.
Right.
Because you guys asked for that. You asked for the CERT team report. That was one of the questions.
Because we wanted to look more in detail of what the report actually had. Unfortunately, that wasn't provided to us. We didn't get that report. But essentially, we wanted to see some more specific timeline to try to narrow down if there was any possibility that somebody could have from the garage and then kind of brought it to that location prior to the team getting there.
And you were unable to do that because they did not provide you the CERT team report because there was no report.
We were actually we kind of looked at it in terms of timeline based on the trooper's testimony And then because like I said, we took notes. So some people were taking notes. It was timeline there, and we were writing down times.
Mm.
And then the video of the car being towed from their house, her dad's house, and then bringing it to Canton PD.
It was towed at 4:15. The CERT team search began at 5:45, and I think most people would agree that's more than enough time to get the car from Dighton to Canton. And so it is mathematically possible to do that. Now, what you did not know, what was not brought to your attention as a jury, was that during the pretrial phase of this, that Michael Proctor's report initially said that the car was towed from Karen Reed's house at 5:30. If the car was towed at 5:30, we all agreed not enough time to have taillight planted. And they changed that later. Once the Dighton police came forward with the police report showing that the car was towed at 4:15, the Commonwealth abruptly changed their story, and they said that's a scrivener's error on Michael Proctor's part, that it went from, oh, he meant to put 4:15, but he actually put 5:30, so we're just going to erase that and put 4:15. If that had been brought to your attention, do you think that would have affected how jurors felt just about the truthfulness of the Commonwealth?
I think the more holes that are put into the prosecution's testimony, then it would, again, lead more to a reasonable doubt. The only other thing that would have been nice is, and we all know this, whenever somebody gets towed, the tow operator is supposed to make sure that they kind of document damages to the vehicle so that they can't be kind of responsible or can kind of make sure that, they can document any damages to the vehicle. So that would have been also helpful to have that tow operator, his documentation provided to us so that we knew that the damages to the tail light was not as significant or as significant as what was reported.
No, it's not a scrivener's error.
Every time we caught a car, we were required to go around the car and make note of any scratches, dents, anything like that, because we don't want somebody saying,
okay, we can pause Ronnie there for now. It goes on for another hour like that. Okay. For a little palate
Ronnie,
cleanse.
he really thinks everything he's saying is the truth. That is 100%. Ron, I mean, it may not be true in our world of like looking at facts and everything, but to Ronnie in that world, it's true. This is the multiverse. This is where you're messing with me. I just not remembered that.
Yeah. I mean, to Ronnie, he just seems like the kind of person that was like, whatever somebody said in front of him goes. And it's like the people that were the loud voices in the jury in trial 1 were convincingly wrong. And he just went with it. He's like, well, Karen was there and John was there and John was dead. So Karen did it. And everything else was just a distractor.
Ronnie, you pull up to a scene of an accident. There's multiple cars with multiple people injured. How do you decide which one to go to first? Go.
Great question.
Good, he says. He's like, yeah. I mean, how's he going to know? He's going to have to look around and see who everybody else goes to. But Ronnie, there's a baby out in the middle of the road. Why did
he does
all
seem
you had
like
to do is just
somebody,
pick him
in
up?
his credit, he does seem like somebody who would be like good at his job, because it's like
He'd be cool under
he
pressure.
would just learn how to, like, he seems like he would be like a good student. And it's like somebody would like tell him anything that didn't require like critical thinking. If it was like memorize this, know this, like follow this. If it's like do CPR in this order, this way, he seems like somebody who would follow directions well, if that makes sense. But we're gonna, yeah, like book smart, exactly. Like not just like he could get the right answer on a test, but have no idea. Like if the question was like, and why, he'd be like, well, I don't know, like because that you just follow these directions. Anyways. We're going to move on from Ronnie, and we're not going to end like that because we can't. So here you go. He was just talking about the timeline, and I have a little like skit that I did from being a juror trying to follow the timeline. We're going to watch that. We're going to have a quick fervent break. Then we're going to watch Victoria George, and then it's going to be like 4:00 in the morning, and we're still going to be going. So here we go.
Awesome.
Jurors, out of respect for Mr. Brennan, don't speak, don't move, don't make facial expressions, don't. At 12:27, I looked out the door and I saw the SUV straight ahead, so I texted here, like, are you here? I created the software to be able to definitively say that the collision happened at 12:31 and 38 seconds. At 12:31, I saw Miss Reed's car had pulled up towards the flagpole, so I texted pull behind me because I wasn't sure like what they were doing. By adjusting the clock drift, we were able to determine that the incident happened at 12:32:16. The car had moved up further past the flagpole, so at 12:40, I texted, "Where are you?" Yes, that's correct. The defendant connected to Mr. O'Keefe's Wi-Fi at 12:36. Then at 12:45, I looked again and the SUV was gone, so I texted, "Hello." So that's how I imagine the jurors felt if they tried to make a timeline in their notebooks. So I don't really know what he's talking about when he's
I've
talking
been
about
trying to
making
make
a
that timeline.
timeline.
And that's the first time I've seen that. Oh my gosh, that hurts my brain.
Okay, we're going to take a fervent break, and our first fervent video is
Where we
from
got over
Exhibit
10,000.
Alley.
Congratulations.
Yay. And also, let's get Exhibit Alley there, because are you ready for the newest version of F.U. Hank? I'll see you back here in a couple minutes.
I've been biting my tongue for so long. Fuck you, Hank. Think you're better than me. Fuck you, Hank. You are not lolly. Fuck you, Hank. Think you're better than me. Fuck you, Hank. But why don't we see? I'm a basic kind of guy, I really don't need a flaunt. Smoking 6 packs a day and I'm happy as a hog. All I do is mumble, do I really need any lungs? The trial 1 jury was just like me, they were hung. Trial 2 came around and you wanna bench me? Not one guilty vote, was embarrassing to see. Need to remind you that my jury was 9-3. Take your little OUI and get about the scene. Fuck you, Hank, Hank. Think you're better than me? Fuck you, Hank. You are not lolly. Fuck you, Hank. Think you're better than me? Fuck you, Hank. Well, why don't we see? Oh, I know what will get us the win. Ask Rachel about his fucking ham sandwich again. That'll prove this beyond all reasonable doubt. Oh, who am I kidding? This shit is a rout. You took this case so damn personally, and I hold that opinion to a scientific certainty. You weasel face, fuck bet, Arca Major P. Even with all the help you got from Beverly, standing ovation. What a robust cross. Psych. Your nerdy ass looks so fucking lost. Just think, $500,000 was all it cost to get our asses kicked in the fucking law. Fuck you, hey, hey. Think you're better than me? Fuck you, hey. You are not lolly. Fuck you, hey. Think you're better than me? Fuck you, hey. Well, why don't we see? Why don't we see?
Hey, how'd that case with the middle school teacher go? I hear you're taking more L's than the Commonwealth.
Hey! Waiting for your response, Becky. Yeah, yeah.
Put your arm out to the side, do a little spinning. Do the pirouette, boy, the pirouette, boy, the pirouette, boy. Put your arm out to the side and pirouette, boy, pirouette, boy, pirouette, boy. Put your arm out to the side. They say it came from a tail light. I say I don't know, that look like a dog bite. They tell me, Paul, look the other way. Is this the first person that you frame? So I start by talking to the crime scene. And yes, I mean the actual crime scene. Lawyers asking where the body and debris. I say I can't say definitely. Jackson asked me questions and I'm supposed to feel. He wanna know how John O'Kee got hit. So I tell him, Paul, put your arm out to the side, do a little spin that, and do the pirouette, boy, the pirouette, boy, the pirouette, boy. Put your arm out to the side and pirouette, boy, pirouette, boy, the pirouette, boy. Put your arm out to the side and
Damn, Fervent go crazy on that beat.
what about this piece of debris? I say, I guess he must have flown 30 feet. Wanna grill me about my degree. Go talk to one and Shannon and get back to me. Mr. Jackson, here's the situation. I don't know anything about these calculations. Yeah, I know you used to work in aviation, but these physics terms got me hyperventilating. Jackson asked me questions and I'm supposed to feel. He wanna know how the evidence got where it did. I say I got the physics knowledge of a kid. My only explanation is it just did. Pirouette boy, pirouette boy, pirouette boy. Put your arm out to the side.
Okay, I would love to play Brady List for you, but I want us to get to Victoria. Okay, so to set the scene, Victoria will be our palate cleanser after Ronnie. Victoria George was a juror in the first trial with Ronnie. She was not selected as a deliberating juror, which we will hear about a little in this interview. I should probably pull up timestamps. I have nothing prepared. She ended up, okay, actually, let me just play it. I did a little intro in this interview where I explain who she is. So I'll probably do a better job in that. Also, you guys need to know that this was like 3 weeks into me ever having a YouTube channel. I'm standing up at a dresser. I don't even have a desk yet. I had no idea what I was doing, so be patient.
When I first met you, your back was to the window.
Yeah, I was like in the corner because I liked having
I
the
was
window.
amazed. Well, it's weird because I always like that's a horrible thing to have because it's always so bright back there. But like you're the only YouTuber I've ever seen to be able to have a window, be sitting in front of it, and it looked good.
I don't think it looked. I think that was the point, was that it wasn't good. So that's why I don't have that anymore. But truly had no idea what I was doing. So enjoy this
Danielle.
Look back. Okay, wait. Let's go to the very beginning so that I can hear whatever I said.
It was.
It's so funny hearing my intro. Nope, didn't mean to do that. Hi, everyone. I'm Emily C. You might know me. I actually can't handle this. And when
was this your first one?
In hung jury, she talked to some of her fellow jurors and heard aspects of the law and the trial that the jury was stuck on during deliberations. And then the next part of the dream, she reached out to the defense team.
What do you keep looking at?
And as a Princeton grad. Oh, I wrote myself notes. I'm reading notes.
Do you have notes?
So what I'm
still?
saying here, I actually I actually can't even handle this. Okay.
You see that look in the answer I got?
So what
oh my gosh.
What I'm trying to say here, I'm not going to be able to handle this at all. What I'm trying to say here is that Victoria George was on the jury. She was not a deliberating juror. She's a lawyer. She was a Princeton graduate. Well, just listen. Graduate and a practicing attorney in Massachusetts. That call ultimately led her to being hired as part of the defense team for the trial when Karen was ultimately acquitted on all of the major charges. So today we're going to get to hear about her experience as a juror. We're going to get.
Are you trying to keep your hands down?
I picked some underrated moments. I'm trying to not touch my hair. Trial one.
I hate that. I hate that. That's one of the. I think that's one of the cool things about you.
We're gonna play a mean tweets game inspired by Taylor Swift and also a little bit by Celebrate. And then most importantly, we're gonna get to know more about Victoria George because she is phenomenal. I'm a little bit obsessed. I'm a little biased. Before I bring her up, I just want to thank you all. This wasn't my first live, but it was my first interview. If you have any questions during it, I'm gonna
Like,
I'm gonna
as if you
try
guys-
to like as if you guys don't know how to use the chat. Like if you guys have any questions, like write it in the chat. Okay, I actually like can't handle this. Okay. Perfect. Oh, good. I asked her how she's
Selection.
feeling.
Your
I
first
think I
interview.
or something
Mhm.
of the jury numbers. And then, yeah, so it was about 2 or 3 weeks before the trial actually started from when I got picked. So I remember getting the call from the court officer that like trial starts Monday, and I was like, okay, sounds good. And
How
then
come it's
within
dark
the
where
next
she
day,
is?
I got a positive pregnancy test. So I found out I was pregnant like pretty much right before the first.
So she got selected as a juror. She's in between getting selected and waiting for the trial to start, and she finds out she's pregnant. Turns out it's with twins. So she's pregnant with twins for the entire time that she's a juror.
Trial started.
What a whirlwind. I
was
can't even
wild.
imagine actually like you're sitting in there in your first trimester and Judge Cannoni's warning people like if you don't speak up, I'm gonna turn off the fan. And I'd be like, no.
Yeah, I mean, I told people that I was pregnant in my little jury room like pretty quickly because I needed to be like first in line for the bathroom. So it was like it was imperative to get that out there. And then like within 2 weeks, I had my first ultrasound, and then I found out it was twins. So
Wait, and I heard that the jurors actually had names picked out for the twins.
yes, well, so especially Pam, aka Juror 3, she wanted me to name them Jury and Duty. Were her picks. There are definitely some other ones floating
Never
around.
name a kid Duty.
Ultimately named,
Don't
though.
do that.
No, well, William and Hunter.
I like that. You had actually served on 2 juries prior to that. You're like a professional juror now.
I don't think I'm ever going to get picked again. But up until this point, I was picked for a jury. My first time getting called, I was like 22. It was right out of college. It was just like a standard DUI. And then I was on a civil trial during law school where the judge had made me foreman to keep the train on the tracks, is what I believe was said. Just sort of, it was a confusing case.
That tracks for you. I can see.
Yeah.
That.
And then of course this this experience.
So did you feel like going in, you had a good idea of like how you wanted to take notes and stuff?
I mean, the other trials I had been a juror on were one day, like very basic, like nothing like this. I overnote. Yeah, I take a lot of notes just to like stay focused, but it's usually not even readable to me. So when everyone's saying like, I've heard some conspiracies about our notebooks, and I'm like, good luck to anyone who ever tried to read mine because I can't.
Mine would have just been full of doodles. That's how I listen.
Yeah.
So the trial gets started. Was there? I know it's like kind of hard to remember back now because you've like learned so much since then, but were there like specific points that you started to feel like you were being swayed towards the idea that Karen might be innocent or maybe not, you might be a not guilty voter?
I mean, I think I started questioning some aspects of the investigation and how I would be able to ever get to a guilty vote. I remember hearing about like the solo cups and the leaf blower and tail light being found.
Yes. So she's sitting on the jury with Ronnie, but she doesn't get picked to deliberate. And imagine how much different that deliberation would have been if somebody like Victoria George had been in that jury room. And it turns out, we're going to see in a little bit, that that might have been intentional.
The course of 2 to 3 weeks and all the things. And it just sort of became like, how would anybody ever be convicted beyond a reasonable doubt in this case? Like, so it sort of was more like a slow building of pieces of information that made it clear that I was never going to be able to get to guilty because there was just too much doubt based on the quality of the investigation.
Yeah. And then what's that like? Like kind of
Well,
once
the
you're in that
investigation.
mindset, and then you're still going, there's still like, 20 days of witnesses or maybe even more. Like, what is that like kind of going in knowing like, wait, I don't know if what you guys are saying is true.
I mean, I feel like the thing was, it was kind of building for me, but I wasn't really sure for a long time because I remember I was going to give like Trooper Paul a chance, and then that went how it went.
We're going to watch some of that in a little bit.
Oh boy.
Buckle up.
Yeah, I mean, certainly by the end, there was just so much doubt that I couldn't understand how anything but a not guilty finding could have been the outcome. But as we know, that isn't what happened.
So were you thinking, because you guys, the jurors can't talk to each other about the case at all. Did you feel like people were in the same headspace that you were? Or like, what was the vibe with the jurors?
I genuinely kind of didn't know because you can't really talk about it like at all. So,
yeah.
I think sometimes you would pick up a vibe off someone if they were annoyed by a witness or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I know at least in our jury room, we really didn't talk about it. So we'd talk about like, I was looking at houses at that point. So I'd show them the houses we were looking at, or like, that kind of thing was what we talked
You guys
about.
must have like really gotten to know each other because there was a lot of like in and out voir dire that you couldn't hear.
Yeah. So I feel like we all really were pretty friendly. I guess it got a little less friendly in the deliberation room for our jury, but I don't know. I was with my friend, the other alternate in our room, so we were fine.
Mm-hmm. So were you surprised when the mistrial was declared?
I mean, I had a bad feeling when I heard the cert report question. I was like, there isn't one. There's no cert report. Like that's one of the points that they didn't really document things.
And why was that such a red flag for you?
It just seemed like they were trying to I don't know. Like they were kind of, it seemed like they were not thinking about the reasonable doubt enough is kind of how I felt. But
Yeah.
this is
For anybody who watched my show about the Lindsay Clancy trial, that Nancy, hi Nancy, if you're out there, Nancy was the one who I wrote that tweet to.
true. That comment, but I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. I just pop up.
We're gonna get to that. The background is in honor of Taylor Swift for you, by the way.
Love her.
Yes, exactly. I want to get to the drama of jury of the day that you were chosen as an alternate. But before we get there, I guess let's stay focused on the trial for a second. I have a couple clips that I want to pull up, and like I think what I'm curious to hear from you is like there has to be a different feeling for you of like listening to the testimony sitting in the courtroom. Like I can pause it, I can fast forward, I can skip over parts, but you were sitting there through all of it, and you can really like see everyone's facial expressions up close. So I'm curious to hear with these clips like what was going through your head.
There's so much that happens like off camera from the jury box that like you can see everyone. You can see all the interactions between everyone, between witnesses and like everybody. Like there's a lot going on. And they also, a lot of them would, thank us personally after, like, and then I would be like, oh, how like very trained. But
yeah, didn't Michael Proctor thank you guys?
A couple of them did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he should have apologized. Like, I'm so sorry that you just had your ears had to listen to all of that.
Yeah, I think he probably had a feeling that I wasn't like his biggest fan based on some of my facial reactions to some of the things. Because that was the first time I'd ever heard any of those texts, and I was just like horrified that like somebody would be sending those. And
yeah, lead investigator.
Yeah. That being said, I feel like one of the big misconceptions with him is I've heard so many defenses like of him saying like, oh, he just sent a few inappropriate texts. It's like, well, no, he was sending texts to his colleagues, and also high school friends about a potential defendant that were completely inappropriate. So. And that's like, more of the issue than the
information about he was giving information about an ongoing investigation that they weren't.
Yeah,
like,
he's involved in.
Yeah, I don't think accountability is really like one of his strengths. So
no, we'll find out. We'll find out in his hearing in a couple of weeks.
I mean, it is anywhere.
Going on.
I actually love the idea, like now knowing that he's testifying and you're sitting there like scowling at him and like gasping.
Well, like I have pretty bad control of my facial expressions in general, but like while pregnant, it's like even worse. Like I can't even imagine like what it was like.
I love that. Like he's like shielding himself from looking at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said she's a lawyer?
Answers ASAP. Yeah, she's a lawyer. So we watched some clips. I don't know if that, but I want to get to when she talks about being selected.
And I remember hearing something about
she said she has no filter.
It was like hard to pass, and I was like, okay, maybe this will explain it, and it did not.
Instead, you got this.
So your expert testimony is it John O'Keefe?
Stay alert game, because I never would have known because we didn't ever hear the grounds or the reasons they were sustained or overruled, or ask it differently.
Actually, this part was funny. Hold on. She talks about why they were objecting.
I mean, I was very confused as to why no one was stating grounds for objections. That was a surprise to me.
Right?
Every once in a while, sure, but it was like so constant that I made it a game with myself where I would try to guess what it was. Which was kind of just sort of a stay alert game because I never would have known because we didn't.
I've been same thing.
Sustained or overruled.
Sure, it doesn't get any easier when you have someone holding your hand through the trial.
I feel like any attorney watching was because that, like, I guess that would have occurred to me eventually, but I feel like for attorneys watching, it's like, what was that why was that sustained? Why was that overruled?
Yeah, I mean, it's just random objections, and what it is, okay, like I cannot stand to watch TV shows about the law. Like, what's the one that my wife used to watch? Is it Law and Order? Where like in New York, and they did these, like you have the trials done in an hour. They have who did it, the entire investigation, everything's in an hour, and you'll hear them say objection, or like whenever there's they do a interrogation and the attorney's sitting there with the person and the person's just talking the whole time and the attorney's just sitting there not saying anything. That's the stupidest thing in the world. I can't stand to watch that.
And then you watch a Beverly Cannoni courtroom and you're like, oh, that's just actually what happens there.
Yeah. I'm like, do people believe this is real? Like, it's not real. It's Massachusetts.
I am still connected to Victoria George. She is now living her best life away from the internet trolls and loving it, and didn't seem like she wanted me to try to talk her into coming back into this world.
As many times as I did as a juror in the first trial, but
Did you feel like sometimes? Wait, also something cute though. I connected her with my son's babysitter. They met each other because both of their kids do Irish step dancing together. So now Carter's old babysitter, who's a cupcake, and Victoria George are like friends at these like Irish step dancing things that they go to, and they'll like send me a picture of them together, and it makes me really happy every time. Adam Lally was just throwing it out there, and
Irish
he didn't even
step
really know the
dancing?
grounds.
I mean, I think that a lot of lawyers will just throw out objections, and that's part of the benefit of having to state the grounds would be that they can't just be saying objection without having easy to identify grounds. But I don't know, I've never been a judge before, so
I could see you as a judge. You would actually be a great judge. Back to Trooper Paul's phenomenal expertise.
Paint drying would be better than
I
Bev.
just
Not
feel a
that big
little
of a
like, oh my God,
compliment.
he's not equipped to handle
No
this.
offense.
Yeah.
Which is like, he's a state trooper, so like I don't know, it's his job. But yeah, man, he was much like Katie McLaughlin, not equipped to handle Alan Jackson.
Yeah. Well, and Trooper Paul was trying to put pieces together that don't fit together.
He just did.
It just did.
It just did.
Oh,
God, that was a line from his that I was just like, that's not good enough.
okay, wait, we need to watch that. Okay, wait, I want to get to the jury part.
Explanation being, it just did. That they need to prove more than that.
And yet, so let's get to that. So you sat through 31 days of testimony, and then we're on the last day.
Cow.
Judge Cannoni is explaining what it means, what an alternate is, or that they're about to pick the alternates, and it's actually perfect timing in that explanation because we see some new faces, some familiar faces, while she's explaining it.
Of my instruction, the clerk will reduce your number to 12 on a random basis. The jurors not selected to serve in the jury will become the alternate jurors. If you are selected as an alternate juror, please do not feel that your efforts in this case have been wasted because, as I've indicated, it is important that we have extra jurors in the case of emergency.
How did you feel seeing them there?
I'm embarrassed to admit that I did not notice that they were there because
Really?
I didn't. I know others did. I found that out later, but I didn't. Yeah, because I was watching the closings.
Yeah. Interesting. No, that's good to know. And when you say that others did, how do you know that? And what were their thoughts?
I mean, I talked to deliberating jurors after, like everything was all over, and some people had seen them for sure, and some people, I think Ron said that he had felt intimidated by them, or maybe I'm misremembering in one of his interviews. But yeah,
Ron.
Take that back. Maybe he didn't. I don't remember. But people definitely did see them. Not everybody. Clearly, I didn't.
Yeah, that's interesting. It was probably better that way for you because then you were about to have an emotional moment. This is what happened next.
Oh no, not the box.
You are unmuted. All right, so Mr. Clerk, will you choose the alternates, please?
Doesn't sound like a lot of balls to me.
Yeah, let's hear that again. How many jurors were you sitting with?
I think at that point there were 15 people, so there should have been, I guess, 14 balls because the foreman had already been removed.
Okay, let's hear, everybody listen up and see if you hear 14 didn't-dinks.
Could the juror sitting in seat number 3, who was juror 79?
Was that you or the next one?
That was my friend. No.
He also says the number before he even looks at the ball.
Oh, that wasn't Pam. Pam was removed in the morning. I didn't know what happened to Pam at that point.
I wanted to ask you about that.
That was, we'll call her Sarah. Her name really isn't Sarah, but the other alternate, Sarah.
Okay. So now you still have
step down and take your place as an alternate.
Doesn't spin it
Juror
again.
Sitting in seat number 2, juror 14.
Yeah,
And
no,
tell us about that moment.
well, I've tried to find other clips of it because my memory is that he didn't read it. He just said it. So that is it, but I can't find it. And I'm like, maybe my memory is false there. I don't know. But the thing is, every time I talk about this, I feel a little bit crazy.
Juror sitting in seat number.
If she says my memory is false.
Step down and take your place as an alternate.
Okay, that's the first one.
And the juror sitting in seat number 2, juror 14.
Oh, we can't see it.
So I pretty quickly started piecing together that basically Pam, Sarah, and I had all been part of like discussing with the judge an incident involving another juror that she was removed. And I was like, wow, that's odd that it's the three of us that have all been removed from the deliberation room today. But I was, yeah.
And so what happened at what point in the trial was that conversation, and how did that conversation go?
So Pam,
tell us.
Yeah, I mean, basically someone, let's see, we can call the removed person like Joanne. Like Joanne had said something to, I think it was Pam, and then because we were near it, Sarah and I were called in to see if we had also heard it.
So
And
you got called in by Judge Canoni.
yes,
You didn't,
yes.
okay.
Contrary to what people on Twitter have said in the past, being like that she got somebody kicked off. It's like, I didn't hear anything. I just went in to say I hadn't heard anything. So, but like, yeah, so that was pretty much what happened there. Like I had heard, like Pam had said something like asking me. And I was like, well, now that you've told
Do
me,
we know
you're-
what was said?
Yeah, because you're not supposed to hear that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been sitting with Sarah on the bus and we were nearby. So yeah.
And so it just so happens that the three of you that were involved in that conversation were then the three that were not chosen to deliberate.
Yes.
And okay, so I think that was that there was one juror who was removed early in the trial for basically making comments that she thought that Karen was guilty because of the facial expressions that she was making during the trial. So her one friend approached Beverly Canoni and said, like, this juror is like in our room that we hang out in, saying like, and she explained earlier in this that the jurors were actually like separated into two rooms because there like wasn't enough space for them in one room. So they're in two separate rooms. So there's only like a small number of people in that room. So she had made this one comment to the one Sarah or whoever, who then went and told Canoni, like, she's saying Karen is guilty every time we go back into the room because she's saying like, look at the faces that she's making. So that juror gets removed. And that was like early on in the trial. And then Canoni calls in the two other ones who are also like coincidentally like making facial expressions at Proctor, like when he's reading it, like basically showing on their faces that like they think Karen is not guilty. And then those are the two other people who end up getting picked to not be deliberating jurors.
And it's kind of like she said something that was negative about like the defense. However, that would have been completely irrelevant. Like anything negative about the prosecution, if anyone had said anything like that, that also should have been reported to the judge. Like I reported myself for driving past a billboard on Route 1. Like if I had heard it, I would have reported it. I just hadn't.
Was it the billboard with the QR code?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how I
yeah, it was.
What did she say when you reported that with the billboard?
She asked me if it had like impacted my ability to be unbiased, and I said no, and then I got to go back to my seat.
She's like, why are you here?
She's like, why are you here?
So now you're going into your third conversation with Judge Canoni, but this is the one that is kind of like, this was the sidebar. So tell us about that.
So I had, right after they picked the alternates, I had said something to a court officer, like, this is so like unfair. Like this, there's no way this was a coincidence. Like, and he looked at Sarah and said, like, what do you think? Do you agree with her? And she said, I don't know. It seems kind of like a coincidence to me. And we hadn't talked about it at all at that point. So I was kind of convinced she was going to say like, I have no idea what, like, and that was sort of the first time I realized that maybe I wasn't the only person who thought that something kind of crazy had happened. Like once the mistrial happened and I saw the internet, I was like, oh my God, so many people thought that was rigged. I think people just thought it was for different reasons. I think people thought it was because of our facial expressions or something, but like I always tied it more to the juror misconduct that we were all kind of adjacent to.
That's interesting. So then this question kind of applies. Pierre Duckery asked, are you able to say if Fanning was involved? Do you know who John Fanning is?
So I've seen his face since. I don't remember ever seeing him, but I also like wasn't looking that closely at their faces. So like, I wouldn't know.
Okay. Because that was another one of the like kind of conspiracy theories, was maybe like he was looking in the notebooks or something. You don't think it went that deep. It was more like you three were involved in this conversation.
I mean, I always feel like I'm wearing like a tinfoil hat, like red string conspiracy talking about this. Like there's no way to talk about it without sounding like that, but it just sometimes things feel a little bit too coincidental, especially given like how things happened.
And what was Judge Canoni's reaction when you said that to her?
Well, I mean, she was like, I don't want to put words in her mouth by any means, but she seemed pretty shocked. And that was kind of what I would have expected.
Shocked that you felt like that, or shocked that you picked up on?
I don't know. Unclear. I would have guessed that she was just like, couldn't believe that this was being like discussed or something. But yeah, because I had kind of wanted to talk to her for two reasons. One was that, and two was we were moving, and I was just like, is there any way I could just be, on call, or like if I'm not going to deliberate, like we're moving houses like tomorrow. So like to sit here from 9 to 5 to like not be doing anything. Yeah.
And you can't like be on your phone or anything. You're just like trapped in a room.
You could be on your phone. I think that's what, like, I think people, yeah, I mean, we could at least in our little alternate chambers. That was the thing. It's like we would go home at the end of the day. So I didn't understand like why, like if I could be back there, if they should need an alternate, that felt like, but I guess
Right.
Massachusetts doesn't do it that way.
Oh, Massachusetts doesn't do a lot of things logically. It's starting to feel like. You had said in the Vanity Fair piece that that conversation was the first time that you saw like a different side of Bev what was your
Well, because as a
impression of her?
juror, she was very nice, accommodating. Like I had needed I couldn't eat deli meat, so they had to make a lunch exception for me. And like I don't know, the way she talked to us was always nice. I didn't really pick up on any of because I didn't know what was going on with like evidence or anything. You know, you just see what is in front of you, and she just seemed like a judge to me when I was a juror.
Until this conversation.
Yeah.
Didn't like being challenged. So let me see. Does anybody else? I want to look at the chat for a second. Does anybody else have any other questions about that? Also, I was just remembering during this interview, I was walking a line because there were things that I wasn't allowed to ask her because then she worked on Karen's defense team. So there were things that she couldn't talk about.
Didn't really add up. I was just so then I needed to figure out what had happened. I
didn't like being challenged. So they announced the mistrial, and then what happened? What was next in your day?
So next was we went back to our parking lot, and I had been pretty friendly with the foreman. We were friends. We sat next to each other the whole time. And he asked me, he's like, now that it's over, what did you think? I wanted what was your opinion? And I was like, that she was not guilty. And he's like, really? And I don't remember verbatim what he said, but I had said there was so much doubt. And as I recall, the response was, yeah, I guess some things didn't really add up. And I was just so then I needed to figure out what had happened. And that's slowly it came out actually they had been unanimous on 2 of the charges. And I was just this is, yeah.
And do you think putting the tinfoil hat on or off for this question, because I kind of feel yours is actually off for this. Do you think the not getting to a full verdict on those 2, having the vote but not getting the paperwork over, was intentional in any way? Or
I mean, I think that sometimes in general, lawyers overestimate what jurors understand about the law, and that you can issue that kind of verdict. I think that jury instructions are so important. And yeah, because most jurors have no familiarity with the legal system, and to know that they intended for 2 of the charges, or that from anyone I've talked to, that they were in fact unanimous on 1 and 3, to not have some kind of remedy, or just have the DA maybe not try those 2 again, that was really disappointing to me. And one of the things that sort of led to me joining the team was just that nothing was actually getting resolved in a way that I felt was fair.
Were you expecting when they were appealing it that they would have said, okay, actually they had come to a verdict on these?
I mean, in my opinion, that I don't think there was a lot of judicial precedent for something like this. And I also just, a lot of situations, sometimes if there's not enough evidence, or DAs can throw out charges and just not pursue them going forward. And that, I think, would have been a feasible option here.
You would think. There's a couple questions from the chat that if you're able to, the trial channel asked if you feel comfortable. Did you watch the Ronnie interviews, and what did you feel about them?
I watched some. I mean, there were a lot, but
You had a regular spot for a little while.
I would say that some of what I heard was not entirely consistent with some things I had heard from other deliberating jurors. But Ronnie's a nice guy. I don't want to
Right.
But yeah, certainly there were some inconsistencies from my understanding of what had happened in there.
Yeah. Basically what she's saying is, I heard that Ronnie was not guilty voter, but now he's going on all of these channels saying that Ronnie was a guilty voter, but now he's going on all these channels saying that he was a not guilty voter. And that's not what I heard in the group chat. Did the jury get ham sandwiches? Mitchell wants to know.
That was definitely an option. I was able to get a buffalo chicken wrap, which was my big.
Where did they order from? I've actually been so curious about that. Is it down
there were a couple places. It was
Salem,
something. I think was the main one.
Okay.
You had a couple options.
All of AJ's Nichols wants to know if you watched coverage of the first trial when it was over.
I watched some, in terms of my husband had pulled some lawyer he knows that he liked, and I watched some of that, and I read some stuff, but I could not bring myself to sit through all of that testimony again. Because I feel like when you're watching at home, you can fast forward, you can take a break if you have to go to the bathroom. That is not the luxury that a juror has. So you just sit there.
Yeah, that's a lot. Is it a wooden bench, or were you in comfortable seats?
There were chairs.
Fun
Yeah.
for someone pregnant with twins.
Oh yeah, super comfortable.
Ovechkin wants to know if there was a group chat with the jurors.
Yes, and it just didn't last very long. It was after. Not with everybody.
Spicy.
Not that I saw.
You weren't on the separate one.
Yeah, I think they probably had their own for people that were in the room.
Interesting. I want to shift gears. Or is there anything else you want to tell us about the first trial before I kind of move on from that?
I guess one of the things is I've read some things about the first jury. The first jury, they were smart people. I think there was just a misunderstanding of the law, and and that goes in terms of the verdict, in terms of reasonable doubt, like not understanding it. And I think that was kind of one of my main takeaways in the first trial, was that I didn't think that reasonable doubt was like hit hard enough. And yeah,
Was
so
that part
I
of the
think,
feedback that you gave when you reached out to the defense team?
um,
We can talk about this.
I mean, it was my opinion at that point, for sure. Especially hearing like from my friends later that like what they had
I
been
was
dealing
so
with in there with
scared to
people who
ask
didn't.
something. I was like literally so scared to ask it something I wasn't allowed to, like anything. I was like, did you do this? I'm sorry, I can't ask you that.
See it the same way. It just didn't seem like the how high of a bar reasonable doubt is. It doesn't seem like got through.
Well, whatever feedback you gave, they did a much, much better job in the second trial of really hammering that in. And it seems like that second jury really understood it. So you don't have to say anything, but great job to everybody on the team. I want to shift gears to, I have a game for you.
A game?
It is based on your level. Oh, yeah. Then we play a game. These are less important stuff. We can stop here. This is when we play a game where we read her mean
But because we were both wearing black suits, apparently that was matching. But like you missed that theirs had gold buttons and like we're actually the same suit.
I pulled up the photos from that day. This is the day that you guys were matching.
Okay. Yep.
I see
Totally
them
the same.
matching, but there's Liza actually matching.
Yep. There it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, apparently something about you guys matching means that you were masterminding a whole conspiracy.
There's not a lot of women suiting options. I feel like that's important to also say. Like, if there had been a time that people had been matching, probably because there's not a lot of choices. Oh my God.
Also, like men match all the time. There's a lot to clear up here. Okay, so there's an AI picture that I'm assuming is meant to be you.
This is the last thing we'll watch.
And it says, wait a minute, I'm confused. Karen Reed's new attorney, Victoria George, is a labor attorney, or she was in labor during the trial, and or is Turtle Boy the father asking for a friend?
So Turtle Boy is not the father.
Yes.
I think that's what that's saying. I actually didn't meet Aiden until like this spring at one point, and I had seen him before, but I hadn't met him in person until April. So no, he did not father the twins. But I do, I know I do really. I have a lot of respect for kind of how much he put this case out there, and I think that there's other cases I'm sure that will benefit from him in the future. Like I think that I just wish him nothing but the best in his proceedings too.
I agree. Yeah.
Even though he's not the father of the twins.
You know, you can still have respect for him, even though he didn't father your children.
Yeah.
Are you a labor attorney?
So I worked.
Okay, we can stop there. I think that's everything that we get into that's actually important.
Is she a labor
So
attorney?
that's that. She worked at a labor and employment law firm, but she did more employment law. According to John DePietro. So those are the trial one jurors that we hear from, Ronnie and Victoria. And Victoria was not a deliberating juror. So
That's interesting.
I'm embarrassed.
Like the bingo thing's weird.
Okay,
What's the
wait.
game?
Actually, this one was funny. The game was just something with the mean tweets. It had something to do with, I forget why I even called it a game. Okay, hold on. Back to this.
Was
It had
it
something
Chat
to do
Pizza?
with it had something to do with Taylor Swift and you guys, I'll link the whole thing. Okay, this is my favorite one. Okay, ready? This is the hottest lead we have so far. Presumed to be trafficked, Victoria George is being deprogrammed by the feds right now. Victoria George is a critical missing. She was in the prime of her life when she vanished after day 2 of the Karen Reed trial. Authorities believe someone has updated her LinkedIn profile, and she is suspiciously absent from her new law firm's website. David Yannetti is suspected. She is in imminent danger as she is believed to have been trafficked by Alan Toaster Oven Jackson, an accused murderer, Karen Reed. If you have any information, contact anyone but Ted Daniel,
music.
O'Connell, or anyone in the Boston media except our friend and yours, John DePietro.
So much to unpack here. So like right from the top, I had said like I'm staying home with my kids right now, but I resigned from my job because I don't have the bandwidth with our kids to like be there all the time. So like that's true for this as well. Like I want to help where I can. So this has been quite a situation on the internet about all that. Also, I told them that I was going to Disney in May for like 2 weeks. So that is all not true.
Disney for 2 weeks. Oh wow.
That you were not run over by Karen Reed?
Nope, I was not. And also, I really hate that picture. It was like a headshot I had taken when I was also pregnant with our second. I've been pregnant for like 5 years, but that photo, being the photo of me everywhere, really like crushed my soul.
I mean, you're gorgeous. That is a beautiful photo, I think, but I can see why. Looking at you now, you could have
been 8 months pregnant.
Yeah. And that really was like the picture that was absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, no, I've also learned though that the internet like doesn't view pregnancy or postpartum as a reason to have ever gained any weight. So I apparently like this spring like deeply offended a lot of anti-FKR by not having lost all the baby weight from the twins yet. So thoughts and prayers to all of them.
They had a lot to say about your body.
We're predictable.
Just no, never.
It's just like because women, it's just always the thing.
Yeah. Well, this is where you actually were.
Yep. I was at Disney.
How
We
was
were there.
Disney?
Chaotic, but fun. It was kind of crazy to bring like 4 kids under 5, including 4-month-old twins to Disney, but we did it. My mother-in-law was kind of the only reason that was possible. But
that is genuinely like, if you were not a superhero in my mind already, yeah, that's crazy. Good for you. Let's clear this.
Says 4 kids under 5 is chaotic, but she's never met me.
Karen's newest lawyer was on the first jury. During the trial, she was drunk at a bar, talking about Karen's innocence. When she didn't get chosen to deliberate, she burst out in court in hysterical sobs.
Okay, so first, I was never drunk at a bar during Karen's trial. I was pregnant, which I think people were still saying this even after like I came out with my name and like who I was and that I was pregnant. Like people were like, no, I know it for a fact. It's like, no, that's not true. I was so sick, first of all, but also like was not ever drunk at a bar during the first trial. Then the second part, I did cry, but not the moment I was chosen as an alternate. It was like a couple days later, I believe, or maybe the next day, because I had like overheard a conversation on the bus that made me think, 1, it wasn't ending anytime soon, and 2, that it didn't seem like it was going in a good direction. So that was more. It was also I was pregnant. There were like a lot of reasons I cried.
Is that when you were wearing the pink dress that everybody had comments about?
I mean, that's another one. Like I was pregnant and we were moving. Not at that point of pregnancy where like nothing really fits right, but you can't really wear maternity clothes. So I had like 3 outfits. So my choices were to either wear this blue dress again or that. That's what we had in the hotel. No one cared that I wore a blue dress, oddly. And also no one ever said we couldn't wear pink. Like anyway.
And so they thought at that moment you had joined FKR and that's why you were wearing pink.
It's hard to even address that.
Okay, so that goes on and on and on. Then we talk about these things, Enneagrams, and she explains Enneagrams, and it's worth it going to listen to because she's really good at that stuff and it's really fun. But it's late and I'm tired and we can't watch that. I'll link it in the description of the video, or you guys can search it on my page.
I'm not gonna do that.
The cover looks like this. It's back when I didn't really know anything I was doing on YouTube. Hold on.
Have you seen me? I don't know how to do anything on YouTube.
It looks like this. You can go find it. Who is Victoria George?
Well, that's a really good thumbnail.
Yeah, how cute is she? She's really awesome. Maybe I will reach out at some point and see if she wants to come back on because she's really great. But as you can see from the massive amounts of random crap that she got on the internet for no reason, I can understand why she doesn't want to put herself through that anymore. People have kind of forgotten about her. Okay.
That's the best thing. People forget about me every time I sign off. Which is great.
No, they don't.
Yes.
You graduated. You graduated today. You learned about Ronnie. Next week we get to learn about Charlie.
Charlie. I've not heard of Charlie. Oh, Charlie's the second trial.
Yes. He's the foreman of the retrial. But Mitchell says it's time to say goodnight, so it's time to say goodnight.
He's going to go to Denmark.
Also, I just realized on that stream, that's back when YouTube used to have like people's names, like not the at the beginning of your name. Remember when you could just like have your name?
Is at anything?
Like it wasn't like at Rachel Ann.
Okay, so
Rochelle Ann.
they have messed with this stuff so much. Like, I didn't even pay attention to it. Now it has
Rachel
at
Leanne. I got it.
So it shouldn't have the numbers. That's the thing that's crazy about it. Like, I don't know why I started doing numbers. And then mine, what's mine? Do I say something?
Yeah, but like,
it has
on that one, it didn't
expert.
even. Yeah, like didn't even have the at the beginning of people's names. It was just like. It was just.
So mine used to not have an underscore. Yeah, on the chat. Now, the underscore is part of my channel. I had to have. Why are you going to sleep?
Yeah, but I'm tired.
Oh.
Okay. It's bedtime. Tonight was really
I'm
fun.
excited. It's graduation night, so like I'm partying.
You're ready to
Woo!
party.
My hat went flying again. So
You
I
go
won't be going to
party.
bed.
I'm going to sleep.
I'll
I
sleep
can't wait for
tomorrow night
next
during-
week. You guys are the best. Chat, you were like especially so fun tonight. Trust
If you ever
me,
get
if I
bored during
did,
the week,
if my child was not
stream
just,
with you.
if it was not a free for all summer, he's starting school soon. Thank goodness. Okay, good night, everybody. Happy birthday, Danny.
Danny,
Expert,
happy
you're the best.
birthday.
Congratulations.
No, hey, thank you. Thank you for putting up with me all this time. I don't
It
know
is
how you forgot.
my pleasure.
I can't believe those pictures though. I got to talk to my wife in the morning. How'd you
She
get a
said
hold
when
of
she
her?
sent
She's
it
a
when
ghost.
she sent it to me, she said he's gonna kill me. And I didn't say anything back because I didn't care. It was worth it. Don't kill
What'd
her.
you think we saw?
Give her a
that?
big hug.
Then I was silly.
I loved everything about it. It was adorable. If anybody came in late and did not see what we're talking about, go back to the very beginning of this, watch the maybe I'll upload it like separately so people can watch it. Good night, everybody. You're the best. Sweet dreams.
If you need a place to breathe, some stress to just relieve, then come watch Emily see, where we keep it drama free. We want justice for John O'Keefe, Aiden and Kelsey, waved bye bye to Morrissey. Let's clean up Norfolk County. Emily C, the one we need, reading sidebars with Corey, writing Hank diaries, giving the people what they need. It's my pleasure to entertain, keeping you laughing makes my day. Positivity all the way. Why don't we tell Satan not today? And now it's time to say goodbye. But before we say goodnight, just keep one thing in mind. Please like, comment, subscribe.